Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 394. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V.
We're creeping up on 400.
We're creeping on a lot of things, 400 being just one of them. Okay. Anyway, so tonight, excited to have
I don't ever leave the dungeon, so I don't know what you're talking about creeping.
Excited to have a couple special guests tonight, one of which is our most recent winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And, of course, we're talking about Valerie Mandujano. And then we're going to talk to another person who's didn't win this weekend, but we do want to check in with because we...
Way to rub that in. Ouch.
I mean, there's a lot of non-winners this weekend.
Like
there's hundreds of them.
119 in that event only.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
no, in that division only.
Paul Ulibarri, he's going to join us as well. It's been long overdue. We have some serious matter and some lighthearted matter and everything in between to catch up with regards to Paul. It's been a while since we've had him, and I know he's got some new foundation news that has been recently announced, so hopefully we can explore a little bit of that. I feel like every other week when we have a new guest, they've got a new foundation to announce or talk about, and I love it. Those are good things to explore and to talk about, and the fact that we've got disc golf ambassadors, players, champions, everything in between that are in a position to be creating foundations, to be heading them up, overseeing them, sitting on boards, things of that nature. We have come a very long way in the last few years to even have those opportunities. So really, really exciting to have both of them joining us tonight. And Valerie's going to be with us in just a few moments.
Yeah, it was an exciting week, and we got to see a lot of really cool stuff on the live broadcast and, of course, post-production, however you choose to consume it. We saw, the continuation of Paul McBeth's stellar play rolling right over from the Memorial. He played... he almost let that AB guy catch him in Arizona, but nobody was catching him in Waco. He just wire to wire. He made it kind of interesting on that last round, but ultimately just kind of put the hammer down and decided he was going to win. It would have required a James Conrad-esque throw-in from Luke in order to even make Paul have to think about a shot. And things went Paul's way this time.
Yeah.
And there was no throw-in on 18, but ultimately Paul takes down the Waco Annual Charity Open with some stellar play, honestly.
Yeah, and as you just said, our other champion in Valerie had an incredible performance, and clearly
one of the best shots I think we'll see all year.
Yeah, and of course we'll talk about that. And just excited to get all of the updates from her. She's had a pretty crazy offseason with her transitioning into a new sponsor, her and her fiance. Also, she has a fiance. All of those things. We'll get to all of that.
Is that like a DD thing? Do they just pick up female athletes with new fiancés?
I don't know what they're into over there, but either way, it's going to be great.
We'll ask Eric McCabe about that later.
Yes, exactly. Also, pretty mild day here in the Midwest, and what I was thinking about is golfers getting out, that spring thaw, some of the conditions that you're worried about. Just as always, this is kind of my annual PSA right around this time when I say, hey, if there's a course that is muddy and is a little bit torn up, rather than going out and playing in it, maybe just play in a field, or finally pick up one of those baskets that you have in your backyard, or take your basket out of your basement and bring it into your backyard. It's always this interesting response when people say, I want to get out and play, but the course is all muddy. Well, I'm going to go out there and play where the course is all muddy, and then you're probably going to make it worse. I know you have an urge, but...
And this is not strictly, but primarily a Midwest and maybe northeastern kind of issue that we have as far as springtime and mud and rain. And tomorrow it's going to be 60 here in Wisconsin.
So get out and destroy that grass.
Everybody wants to get out there and play. If you feel the urge that you have to play a course, try to find the least played course in your area. But even then, as we say, maybe go make an object course somewhere. Go find a park, some trees, not a lot of people, please, and go do that, because as we know, now is the roughest time on these courses that you will tear up grass and destroy things, and then it lasts all season and it doesn't look as good, and blah blah blah. So as Terry was saying, let's try to treat the courses with some respect, and hopefully so they can look nice the entire year, not just.
If you're going to ruin your new shoes, we can say we saw that coming when you go out and play in a muddy course. All right. With that, someone who performed this weekend, I think she kept her scorecard clean. She probably kept her shoes clean.
I don't know. That day one was difficult to keep clean.
One way or another, she got it all done, and we're going to welcome to the show this weekend's Waco Annual Charity Open, Valerie Mandujano. Hi, Valerie.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well. I personally transitioned from commentating in Bend this weekend, where we had the honor of calling the shots myself, along with another Valerie Jenkins. And I think about just coming back from that, and then I think about the whirlwind that you've probably been through. What have the last 28-ish hours been like? Or sorry, probably more like 48 hours, 48 to 52 hours. What's the last 2 days been like for you?
Honestly, nonstop. Whether it's, sitting in a car and driving or being on my phone. I feel like I've been busy and I haven't taken a minute just to let it all hit me. Yeah, so we drove from Waco that night. We drove back home, and then that morning we all woke up and then dropped the RV off to the shop to get it wrapped. And then after that, it was kind of just settling all the stuff out of the RV and then washing everything and, all that good stuff and fun stuff. After that was just emailing all the companies and sponsors back, giving the okays and the logos and whatnot. And then just kind of texting everyone back that's texting me that day. I tried to text some people back Sunday, but I couldn't quite get it. So Monday I kind of just sat there and just texted everyone back because I didn't want them to think that I forgot about everyone. And then did some field work. Obviously got to get still got to get some golfing. Did some field work, putted for probably a half an hour. By that time it was already getting dark, and then that's the time we kind of just took to sit there and I think we just ended up watching a movie and I fell asleep, honestly, that one day. And so that was kind of cool.
Is there any update to the van wrap? I mean, I'm assuming you had this planned before the weekend. Now you've got a big big title under your belt. Maybe just a little corner like Waco Annual Charity Open winner or anything?
To be honest, no. Just because I feel like this is the first one and it's very important, but I certainly don't want it to be the last. And then so I feel like if I end up winning following through the year, it's kind of going to be weird just having Waco champion. And
you can always add to the wrap, right? Can you just
Sharpies,
stickers? Who knows?
So,
all right,
okay.
And then today we kind of it's just been really hectic and busy.
So of course, plenty of media obligations at the same time, I assume. I think I saw you were on going to be with Nick and Matt last night. Did you chat with them as well?
Yes, I did. That was another thing. Yeah, I did. Sorry. I feel like I've been doing so many little things that I tend to forget.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I think of, podcast, articles, sponsorship obligations, just probably a million things to take care of when you've been crowned champion like that. Can we take away anything from Waco when we've seen yourself, Kona, Paige, Katrina? I mean, we continue to see so many different winners. What do you feel like that says, if anything, about Waco? Or maybe it says nothing.
Shows that it could not say anything, but honestly, I feel like it shows we're starting off very strong because Waco is a tough course. It demands every part of your game. So I feel like it shows that we put some work into the off season, and it kind of paid off at that point. That's one thing I've taken away from it.
Not a bad 2020 debut, huh?
2022.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you didn't play Vegas. You bypassed Vegas, so you step onto your first. Would you call this your first official tour season for the Pro Tour?
Yeah.
I know you've dabbled back and forth in a few events, I believe, but your very first tour event on your first touring season, and you come out with a W. I mean, is there? I'd love to say, well, where do you go from here? But the obvious answer is more W's and string a few of them together. So, looking ahead at some of these events, we've got Belton coming up, but that's a silver series in Texas States. What are you going to take from this event over to those events that's going to help you, if not continue to win, at least continue to place and to do well? What did you learn from this win?
This is gonna sound weird, but I feel like it showed me that I'm able to win on tour in this year and last year. Like it shows me that it wasn't just like all in my head, It's not something you just tell yourself like, "Oh, I can win, I can win." It actually showed myself I'm able to win. I have what it takes to win. As long as I can keep pushing myself to apply the work and to continue the work and, keep it as consistent as possible, I can still win and I can keep winning.
Do you ever feel like in the last year or two, when you've been in and out of some of our biggest events, do you feel like you ever really lacked confidence? Was that an issue for you, or was it just a matter of timing and, everything coming together at the same time for you? Did you ever doubt yourself or any of the skills or what you were out there doing?
I wouldn't say I lacked confidence, and I think it was just more trying to balance being humbled and then also like being confident. I didn't want to be overconfident and say like, well, I'm going to win every event I show up to. So I just wanted to put myself in a place where I knew the chances I had. Like I knew I could win, but it's another thing to actually do it. It showed me, like it gave me an extra confidence boost showing what I could do, what I'm capable of. We all know that we're capable of many things, but once we do it, it surprises all of us and it opens, I feel like, a next level of achievement.
I'm going to jump right to the meat of the interview and talk about hole 17. There's a lot of people are pulling parallels from last year at the Throw Pink. You got to hole 17 and you had an unfortunate hole, very, very difficult, ended up taking you out of contention. You walk up to the second shot on hole 17, and there are parallels. It's kind of an island hole. You can't go right, you can't go left. There's nothing short, thankfully. And you parked it. You were, 12 or 14 feet away? Were you thinking about Throw Pink at all? Or is that just not even in your head? Are you just thinking, my next throw is my yellow getaway right up the gut in the crosswind?
Honestly, I didn't think on that hole, I didn't think anything of Throw Pink. The starting of the year, yes, I thought a lot about that, and that's kind of some point what kept me going, where I was like, I'm not going to let this be another Throw Pink, I guess, starting Waco. But as of stepping up into that hole, I was not thinking of Throw Pink. I was thinking clearly of the shot. I was like, what do I want from this shot? What can I do? What's my, I guess, highest percentage on staying in bounds? And I felt like laying up wasn't an option just because laying up was as high as going out as of going for the shot. Like I could literally throw a forehand and go OB left or right. It just depended on the wind or the shot. And so in my mind, I thought about, let's just get in line with the basket. So even if I skip out left OB, I'll have a par putt. That was my thought. And I was like, best case scenario, park it. Worst case scenario, I have a par putt.
Yeah, and so it's fair to say that had you gone either deep of the basket or maybe left of the basket, you were just hoping to gain as much ground as possible. And if you went OB, you went OB. That was certainly in your mind as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know this is going to sound weird being hindsight 2020 and you pulled it off the way you did, but did you envision the disc flipping the way it did and then coming back exactly the way it did, or did you just throw it and you threw it well, but you were like, oh, wherever it lands, or did you really envision like that much turn and then have it fight back that much at the end? Was it perfectly envisioned?
Honestly, yes. That's
Okay.
everything I thought it could happen. And again, it could have went either way. It could have gotten really stable and gotten a wind gust and then just went OB, or it could have flipped and gotten a real strong wind gust. But everything I felt like was just like a perfect time or a perfect wood read.
Yeah,
So.
it's yeah. Maybe the follow-up to that then is we place you right there and you throw, we give you that same exact getaway, and we have you throw that 10 more times, how many times are you getting it that close again?
Honestly, I'd like to say 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
All
that's-
right. You got it dialed. I like it. Now, you were just talking about the scenario, the scoring, and what you thought could or couldn't happen, or what you probably needed to happen. What was going through your mind with relation to Kristen and either how she was playing, what she was doing, the scoring she was doing? Are you paying any attention to her and her game at all, or are you 100% focused on what you're doing? The entire, we'll say,
No.
starting on hole 9 or 10 forward.
I wasn't paying attention to her game at all up until 15, I believe. I think it was 15. I
Okay.
checked scores and I think I had a 3-stroke lead, but then I knew I had a 3-stroke lead, and then she went birdie on 15 and 16. Yep, I believe that was it. And so
Mhm.
it brought it down back to 1 going into 17. I made the comment to Mason, and I was like, well, there goes 2 strokes. Now 1 to go, right? And, just being salty at myself for letting it happen. And he was just like, no, don't think that way. Like, the minute you think that way, the minute, there is a chance of losing. Like, don't put that stuff in your head. Like, don't have that mindset. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? You're right. I was like, anything can happen at 17. Just because I'm walking up to 17 with a 1-stroke lead doesn't mean I'm going to win. But me walking up to 17 with a 1-stroke lead doesn't mean I'm going to lose. And I was like, this hole is about strategy, and I'd have to have 2 good drives to win. And that was kind of my mindset going into it. I was like, okay, shot for shot, let me just throw the first one inbounds. That was my mindset going into it. The wind pushed it a little too far than what I'm comfortable with, but I was like, okay, I landed inbounds, and then I saw what Christian's did. Hers got lifted and smacked a bush and then fell down, and I was like, okay, well, she could still par easily up and down from there, and that's kind of what the mindset I had. I was like, even if she pars, even if I par, I still have a 1-stroke lead going into 18.
I guess, the very first follow up to that is every relationship, caddy and player, husband, wife, fiance, whatever the scenario is, every single relationship has a slightly different way that they strategize
or communicate.
or communicate, on the course with regard to scoring. I mean, and I think I've heard almost everything on both extremes, from, you have no idea what the scores are and I'm not telling you, all the way to like, hey, here's every single stroke that you need to worry about, and everywhere in between. What's the general philosophy between yourself and Mason? And is it different with you to him versus him to you? Do you guys have is there any difference in strategies?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So yeah. I feel like when I'm walking with him, I'm kind of just like there for support. He'll ask me for certain shots, and that's just to give him like an extra boost. Like, he'll be like, well, what do you think? Because then at that point, I feel like he really needs my help, and then I'll give him my opinion. And then, yeah, it's kind of more of a comfort thing, I feel like, when we have each other, just because we can describe or ask for the shots, and then, somebody giving you a second opinion on the thought you already had is like, okay, a little more confidence into that shot. And I feel like that's what I give him. And sometimes he does what I did on walking into 17. We get a little too frustrated with ourselves, and we kind of just need somebody else to like get us out of that position. Like, hey, you know what? It's not you. It's not the mindset you had this whole round. So kind of shake it off. And I feel like that's what I help him with a lot, is just kind of keeping his attitude a little less feisty at times, because we both are hard on each other, or not on each other, sorry, on ourselves. So we tend to pull each other out of that. But I feel like with Mason and me, we're more just, we strategize here and there, depending, I think, really on the course. Like, I'll just, again, ask him, like, hey, what do you think of this shot? If I'm kind of just second guessing things, I'll ask him, like, well, what do you think I should throw here? Just to see if he's going to say what I'm already thinking. And the minute he'll say, well, I'm thinking this shot, I'm like, okay, perfect. I was thinking that shot too. So now I'm really going to throw that shot. And I'll kind of just ask him for like advice about like certain percentages.
Okay. And I love all that insight. And then I'll follow that up and ask, what about scoring? Are you guys usually pretty open about, what score someone's at, or what you feel like you need to do for a score? How do you guys communicate with regards to scoring?
With scoring, I don't ever like tell him unless he asks me where he wants to be at in score, or if somebody's making a move, then he'll ask me like, what do scores look like? And then
Okay.
I'll pull up the scores. I'm like, okay, well, this is what scores look like. Or he'll ask me like, well, what do I need to do to get to first? And I'll tell him like, well, this person's at this number and this many holes, stuff like that. As far as me, he'll ask me like, okay, when do you want me to give you like a checkup on scores? Because I normally don't look at scores. I just
Hmm.
pay mind to my own score. And I'll tell him like, okay, well, every 3 holes, give me a reminder on what scores are looking like. Or it depends on which tournament. There's times where I'm just like, let me know if somebody's making a move on the field, like if somebody's really killing the course, or let me know if I'm really like playing bad where I'm out of it.
So
So it's kind of
did you know that Kat was killing the course? Like, did he kind of tell you like,
uh,
oh hey, like Kat from the fifth card
Is making a move.
she's kind of making a move, shooting the course record right now.
I assumed because I heard him and Owen talking about it.
Mm.
They had the phone. Owen's like, "No, you don't look at this. Go over there." And I was just like, "Okay."
I can see Owen
And then
smacking a phone out of somebody's hand.
yeah, she just like hid it from me, and she's like, "Yeah, no, don't look at this. Go over there." And she's like, "You don't need to worry about this." And then
Okay.
I kind of just give Mason like this nod, like, "What's up?" And he's just like, he's like, "Yeah, Katrina's shooting pretty well right now." And he's like, "Do you want to know what it is?" And I'm like, "Well, isn't anything to like really catch me right now?" And he was just like, "Well, and not if you're at the pace that you're at right now, you'll be fine." And
Okay.
so I was like, "Okay, perfect. I don't need to know then."
I mean, we all know Own. Everyone loves Own.
Yeah.
She feels like she's just everybody's. I don't call her mom, but like everybody's helper on the course. Like
Cheerleader.
She's everyone's cheerleader. She seems to always be, have everyone's best interest in mind. Is that what you get from her as well, or?
Yeah, for sure. She's super sweet. I love Own. I love playing with her. Every time I play with her, she's always excited to play with us or even see us. There's times where if the round gets serious, like if it's the second round, she'll always ask us like, "So are we being serious? Or are we talking today? Like, are we having fun today?"
Just to
So like
set
the
the
first round,
tone.
yeah, to set the tone, like she'll ask, and I'll be like, "Oh, Owen, I want to play good today, so I think I need a little extra focus because I didn't quite focus on these shots yesterday." And she's like, "Okay, perfect. I got this." She's super sweet.
That's so like her too, just to think like, okay, maybe I need to tone it back a little with, this jovial nature, because you guys all know some days when things are going well, yeah, everyone's out there having a good time, high-fiving and laughing and, and chuckling along. And some days you just might be like, hey, yeah, why don't you take your enthusiasm elsewhere? I'm trying to get
I mean,
focused
if
on
it's
my
day
own.
3 and you're all on the fifth card, it's way different than if you're day 3 and you're all on the lead card.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a completely different scenario, and I'm sure it would be different from Owen's perspective if she were in your shoes as well. So,
Yeah, that's hilarious. The one question, if I were out there, and so now I am glad I get to ask it. So many of our players, when there's a big event, it's not an asterisk, but so many people have been like, yeah, but the Europeans aren't here. That's been unfortunately kind of the big default. And in their credit, 3 of the top players in the world are, haven't been at a lot of our events over the last couple years. I get it. Being obviously Henna, Evelina, and Kristen. I get it. So my real question to you would be, everybody was here. Everybody in the FPO division, and you bested them all. 5-time world champ, 2-time world champ, top-rated women in the world, the Europeans. You literally bested all of the best women in the world. What does that mean to you?
It honestly just means a lot of my hard work has paid off. That's really what I think about. I don't think about like, oh, I beat this player, or oh, this player's ranked here, or oh, this player, played this well, or I really don't think about any of that. I just think about like my work actually paid off. Like I didn't make a devastating mistake, or I didn't put myself in this position. And that's really what I think about. I don't really think about like I beat all these players, or how you said the Europeans are here, so now I beat them. No, I enjoy playing with them a lot. Like I mentioned this to the Nick and Mad show. Like I think part of it was me having such a well-rounded card. Like we were all competitive, but we all cheered each other on at the same point. It wasn't like, oh, she hit a tree, now I can catch one. It was never that. It was always like, dang, she hit a tree, now she has to scramble from here. I want to play with somebody or I want to win when they're playing the best golf that they possibly can. I don't ever want to win because somebody's struggling.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. As you say, um, you don't think about beating them necessarily, or that so and so was there or not. But there's just no doubt, and I guess that's what I take home. And maybe that's just from the media perspective. I take home that this wasn't a skewed field. This wasn't a partial field. This wasn't. There's just no, we'll say, fluke about it.
This
like
is as
it
close
was
to the World Championship caliber lineup that you're going to see. I
Yeah.
think all year. I think all year we're going to see this. It's not like it used to be, where you get some people coming and some people going. We've got a tour now, and the World Championships, while everyone treats it bigger, is part of the tour, and I think we're going to see all these women, continue to just move on.
Yeah, and I just think it was so incredible. And then, you just said you like playing with the European women. Is there anything you've picked up or taken or have been surprised by, or what would you take away if you had to describe it to somebody and say, playing with the three European women that are here, it feels like blank? What would you insert there?
It feels like a professional sport. I'm going to say,
Okay.
we go prior to the years where a lot of people felt like this wasn't like a professional sport. They really carry, disc golf at the top level of a top sport. Like they're very professional, but they're also, really polite with things, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think about, as you just said, you enjoy playing with them, but you enjoy beating them even more, probably.
Well, I mean,
what do you feel like has stopped you or prevented or held you back from winning an event prior to this? You've won 8 years, and I'm not taking any. What has prevented you from winning on the pro tour prior to this weekend?
I think the knowledge of actually being on the tour for a couple years, like it was my first year last year, so I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, how to feel at certain moments, or how to even like act, or meaning like playing with certain women. It's like, are you professional here, or are we playing like how Owen said, like stuff like that? I didn't know. So she's been on tour, so she's known long enough to ask that question to me. At times I can joke around with somebody thinking, oh, it's just going to be a fun round, but in their mind it's, go time. So I think really just learning now what the ins and outs of touring is. Like, us having an RV, it's comfortable now, not just jumping from hotel to hotel where it doesn't feel homey. You just always feel like a stranger in somebody's house. So now having an RV, it makes it feel like a little home away from home. So in a way, it's just getting comfortable really just on tour, just knowing the ins and outs of touring.
And I guess we'll follow that up with explain to the world, in case they don't follow along your socials, what exactly does this year look like in terms of not only events you're maybe hitting up, but who are you traveling with, and then describe, it maybe a little more in depth, RV life as opposed to van life or camper life. Break it all down for everybody.
Yeah, so I'll pretty much be playing the whole Pro Tour events, and I don't think I'll be playing Masters Cup.
Okay. Yep.
That's the only event I believe I'll be missing. But I'll be playing the next swing all the way up until DDO, and then I'll be coming home for at least a week or two, and then we'll be flying out to OTB, be playing all the way up into Portland, and then coming back home, flying back home, and then getting the RV and going on to the next swing. As of that, yeah. So who will be touring with us is me, Mason, and Alexis. My dad will be picking and choosing on what events he comes to. My mom, unfortunately, will not be touring with us this year.
Okay. And then you just mentioned RV. Obviously we've seen this huge influx in vans. We've seen some vehicles, some, cars and or other minivans done up into tour vehicles. What did you go with, and what chose you? Oh my God, words are tough tonight.
Jeepers,
what
Terry.
did you go with, and why did you choose the route you went?
The RV was always in like mine and Alexis's like vision for disc golf. Just because it's always spacious and we're around our family a lot. We wanted our family to come and tour with us the first year, of course, or hopefully it was a couple years, just because we're super close to our family, and
Mhm.
it was a great experience how we started disc golf with them. We wanted to continue that journey. So we always thought like, well, RV is going to do the job as in comfortability level. Um, so that was really the route why we wanted to go in RV, which I'm really glad we did because the van would be way too small, even I think for me and Mason, if we decided to tour on our own. It's just too small for us. We're just used to a lot more space. And I don't know, an RV is, like I said, it's just like a smaller home away from home. I really enjoy being able to have our own space, like if we had a bad day on the course. Somebody can go in the back and close the door. There's an actual room back there, so it's not like it's all open and we see each other and we're just all like frustrated as a hotel room where I could see Mason across the room if we're having a spat, or Alexis and I. At least in an RV we have our separation.
You and Mason have a spat? That doesn't sound. I can't even see that. I can't imagine that. So
it would probably be because he told me something about the course or something like that.
He told you wanted to throw one shot, asked him a suggestion. He's like, "No, I really think you should go with the forehand here," and you're like,
"Yeah, probably."
You're wrong.
It would probably be something like that.
Guess what? You're wrong, Mason. All right, you're wrong.
Now you just literally pull out the trophy, and be like, "What was that?"
Yeah, I can't hear you. This is like water under this bridge. The bridge, the trophy. You didn't win, Mason. I got this. Quiet down. You can always throw that up. No, you guys were also part of a lot of different people that shifted this year. We, going lots of different sponsorships all over the place, but you guys made a transition during this offseason. Break that down a little bit for us. What prompted you guys? You guys both were with Innova, and then we saw you sign with DD. How did that come about?
Honestly, I just feel like some people grow out of things, and that's kind of what happened with Innova. We just grew out of Innova.
Okay.
DD reached out to us. They reached out to Mason first, and I believe it was after USCGC, and he was talking about the offer that they gave him, and then they were just kind of going into details about the contracts. And I was just kind of there on the sideline, just listening and giving my opinion about things. And then Eric reached out to me, and he was like, "Well, what do you think about going to DD?" And I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, we'll see. I guess we'll talk. But I didn't think he was really serious about it. And then he kept pursuing it, and he's like, well, let's talk. Let's have a call. And then he called me, and there were some things I was concerned about, and he answered the questions really instantly. And he was just like, I could say yes and no right now for a bunch of questions that you have. I don't have to go through, another boss to get to you to those answers. And so, which I really liked because, I can ask Eric anything on the spot and he can give me the yes and no to the answers, or the questions, excuse me. And yeah, he kind of just gave me this plan and everything that, they have planned for me, and the opportunities I have in DD. So I really was interested, and I was like, okay, let's talk more about it. And so really it came down to the opportunity. They gave me an opportunity to grow more as a player.
And then, I don't want you to fully speak for Mason. This interview is not necessarily about him, but it's kind of similar sentiment unfold on Mason's side too. I mean, and would it have been weird for one of you to be sponsored or not? I mean, was that part of the conversation?
Not at all. I feel like sponsorships, disc golf, that's where we draw the line. Where that's basically our work space. So we don't bring that into our family. Or into our house. It's the same thing like me and Alexis. A lot of people ask that for years. Well, is there a conflict that you guys will be sponsored with different people? And this was from day one. We were sponsored with opposite sponsors. And I told him, I was like, no, this is our workspace. We'll draw the line as soon as we get to the car. We just leave that there. If DD was the better choice for him and not me, I would have still supported him to go to that offer.
Seems to have worked for you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
New discs, new win. I mean,
what were some of the adjustments that you did have to make in terms of switching sponsors and switching up your bag and anything else that you had to adapt to? What was that transition like for you?
Honestly, I think the hardest part was them having so many options on discs. Where it was like, okay, I have 3 different companies to choose from. They all have that same flight, different moldish kind of disc. So which one do I want in my bag? Which one feels more comfortable? And that's where Mason really stepped in, and he was like, he knows a lot about disc. It's insane. So he was like, well, this disc is going to fly like this, and this is going to do this. And so that's where he really helped me, and he kind of just built my bag along with me. He was just like, this is the disc that's going to replace this. This is going to fly like this. Like this can better your shot, stuff like that. And he kind of just set this bag and he was like, well, let's tweak it. What do you feel like you want out of it? Is there something you're missing? Is there something, you feel like you need? And that's kind of what we just talked about the whole off season was every time I threw a disc, he's like, well, what does it fly like? Does it move up in a slot? Does it need to move down? Are you missing a slot? Like, what do we need? And so he was really pushing in that because department, I guess you can call it, in the bag change.
And then just for everyone out there, we obviously heard what the yellow disc is, but give us some of your main workhorses for what you were throwing primarily this weekend, your putters, mids, so on and so forth. What's kind of generally in your bag week in and week out?
I putt with the classic Judge Burst Classic.
Okay.
I really like those. Those are super straight for me. And then as in mid-ranges, I threw what is it? I'm trying to think of the plastic. Sorry. There's, like I said, there's so many plastics there. The Fusing Gold Line X.
Okay.
I threw that a lot. And then I threw the Truth a lot, the EMAC Truth. And then I threw the Trust a lot in mid-ranges. For putters, I threw the Moonshine Warden a lot. That's the pink disc. I know there's so many different colors that I thought about it.
Yep.
And then I threw a bluish disc, the putter. It's a pure, and that's Kristen's. It's a Gold Line X.
Okay.
And then as in drivers, I threw the Ballista Pearl quite a bit in the wind. And then I also threw the Sheriff a lot.
Okay. And the yellow one again was?
The Getaway. Yeah, that was a lot of my shots, actually. I didn't realize how many times I threw it until I went back to write my disc for the video, to write my disc lineup. And I was like, wow, I threw it quite a bit, actually.
Does that help you? I mean, going back for post, because what she's talking about is for post production. I think the GK Pro guys usually ask like, "Hey, does that help you look at a list and be like, wow, I guess I really do rely on this disc," or, oh man, I didn't really throw this disc at all. Does it really need to be in my bag? Do you ever does that equate to anything for you, or is it just the course? Does your bag change based on courses?
My bag definitely changes based off of courses. That did actually help me realize how many discs I actually threw and how many discs I didn't throw in my bag. But that's kind of Mason, that like sheet that I write on. That's basically what Mason does for me. He I'm telling you, he has a memory. He has a great memory. I don't. So like we'll go play a practice round and I'll tell him like I need this disc in my bag, and he's like, well, you didn't throw it at all at this course. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Yes, I did. I threw it in this one shot. He's like, no, you didn't. And I'll sit there and think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't throw it in that shot. And so he's like, yeah, you don't need this disc. You need this disc. Let's swap the slot out.
So I'm thinking back to so many successes that we've seen at various worlds, junior worlds and AM worlds that you guys have been at. And I've seen you and your sister now going back to when were some of the first times you guys were competing at world championships?
Oof.
What years were those?
My memory is not the best, but I'd have to say like 2015.
Okay, like Michigan maybe 2015, sometime around then.
Ooh, maybe it was 2014. I think it was in Minnesota.
Okay, okay. That it could be that one. I don't recall. I know we followed a couple of groups around live in 2014 at Am Worlds. That was the one Vanessa Van Dyken won on the women's side. But I've seen you guys, compete and grow up through disc golf through so many years now. But it's kind of now funny to think, not only is this your full-time job and you're touring and you're professionals, you're winning at the highest level, but if it weren't disc golf, what do you feel like you or your sister or Mason, what do you feel like you guys would be doing career-wise if it weren't for disc golf?
Oh, I think about this actually quite a bit. So I always wanted to be a professional athlete.
Okay.
I was always into soccer before disc golf. I actually had to stop playing soccer because of disc golf. Because I was like, I need to focus more time on disc golf. But yeah, I always wanted to be a professional soccer player. And if that didn't work, as I got older, I wanted to be a fitness trainer.
Okay.
So that was something I would like to done. And then Alexis was pretty much on the same boat. We played soccer pretty much together most of the time. And then she said a personal trainer. And then she also wanted to, what is it? I'm trying to think. I can't remember this one. There was one more thing where she said that she wanted to be, but I can't remember what it is right now. I know Mason, he he almost got a scholarship for running back in I think his high school days, but
Hmm.
it didn't work out. And then he was a vet tech actually before disc golf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
he probably would have just pursued that.
yeah, and we see often, I know you guys have gone through various training regimens, like you saying fitness trainer. Same with Alexis. Obviously, does not surprise me because during a lot of our off seasons, and even sometimes I feel like during the season, you guys posting about going to the gym, working out together. That seems like a very common theme. Do you guys do that? Will you do that throughout the entire year, or do you feel like that's more of an off season routine, and then take it a little easier during the actual season of play? What will be your strategy moving forward?
I want to go to the gym on the on season as well. So
Okay.
I want to at least go to the gym on the practice days that we have, even if the tournament days is kind of like our off day.
Okay.
That's something that's new to us, so we're all going to see how that goes. There might be days where we're too tired to go just because of the courses. It might be a little longer than normal, but it is definitely something I want to keep up. I know we all talked about it. And we all said we would like to keep up going to the gym, just because it could help us now and in the long run, so we're not so like out of shape going into the off season. We're working that intolerance back up.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean the three of there's likely
Support
always
system.
somebody, a support system of even if one person's like, I'm good tonight, I'm gonna eat ice cream, and the other one's like, no, I'll go with you, and hopefully you'll always have that support system. Do you ever feel like there's any? I don't want to call it pressure. Well, I'll say pressures. Any kind of annoyances or pressures or challenges with the fact that it's going to be three of you on the road together? I mean, I know you said
Not at
there's
all. We do,
separation, but you guys get along pretty well?
yeah, for sure. I feel like we get along a lot more than we don't. If we don't get along, it's just because somebody's like in a mood or it's just not having, they're just not having the best day. The good thing is we're all pretty close. So when one of us is like out having fun and the other one isn't, it's kind of like, dang, I wish that person was here with me right now. But that's just the way we are. We all like travel in a pack pretty much. If one of us wants to go and do something fun, we're just asking the other two, like, hey, what do you think of this idea to go? It could be simple as hiking. We're just like, oh, okay, I want to go hiking. Do you guys want to go? And if somebody's not feeling to go walk, 100-degree hike, we're just like, well, maybe not today. What if we schedule for tomorrow? How does that sound? We'll kind of just work around each other.
Wow, that sounds awfully mature of you guys. I don't know if it'd be so easy.
Let's you and I tour and see how that works.
Yeah, that lasts about one weekend, and I'd be sick of this guy. Yeah, and I'd go as far as saying I believe there's even an event or two. It might have been as recently as last year. I think we saw Mason caddying for Alexis, and that's like not necessarily a big deal because you guys all know each other's games, and you're always there as like this support mechanism and network, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were all friends at once upon a time before me and Mason started dating, and once I started dating Mason and Alexis, I feel like got even closer. So their relationship is like a best friend or a brother and sister, some say. So I feel like it's kind of odd when people like look at us and scratch their head like, well, why is Mason caddying for Alexis? Or why is Alexis caddying for Mason? I mean, I don't feel like it's weird at all. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm happy that, my sister, which is my best friend, is close to my fiance now. So, I mean, I personally love it. I love how close their relationship is. It just makes us, like you said, traveling so much easier because we all get to understand each other.
So
Yeah,
it's just Mason just caddy for whoever's higher up on the scoreboard at any given particular time. Like
yeah. What
like
what
if
what
like if
drives
she's on
that?
the lead card and you're on maybe the second or third card, is he going to be like, well, I'm going to go caddy for?
I want that 10% over there.
No, not at all. I think it's really depending on the mood. Whoever is
Sure.
like, okay, I'd like, if you can come and caddy for me, would you be down? Or if somebody obviously is like having a spat, they're like, yeah, I don't want you on my card. And it's vice versa. If Mason's playing and if, one of us is having a rough day, we're just kind of like, okay, I'm going to walk or I'm going to go sit in the RV or, I'll stay from a distance. So like sometimes I'll just stay off into the distance and then Alexis will go caddy for Mason. Or I just feel like at times he might be more comfortable with Alexis caddying for him because there'll be courses where they understand each other more and they're just like, yeah, this works. And I'm just like, no, I don't get how you guys are planning on going for that shot. I feel like this is the shot. So there's times where they just see eye to eye.
Makes sense. And now engagement was relatively recent, just in the last month or so, correct?
Yeah, it was the ending of February.
And well, is there a story that you can share with everyone, or no? Was that a?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's not anything like a secret. Uh, so um, we were planning on going on this hike. It was supposed to be like me, Alexis, obviously, Mason, her boyfriend. He's in the Air Force and he had leave for a month, so he was going to be here around this time. And Mason was talking about this hike for the longest that he found, and so we were all like, okay, well, we'll plan it for this month. So we set a date on planning it. Well, I didn't think it was an actual date. I thought it was just like, okay, well, around this time. And then my cousin actually flew in around that time. My little brother wanted to go on the hike, which I was really surprised on. And then Alexis's boyfriend's sister came into town to see him, so she wanted to go too. I was like, okay, this is cool. So I started inviting people myself. I asked my older sister to come, and she was just like, oh, I can't make it. So we're hiking up this, I felt like it was a mountain, to be honest. It was very steep. And I was complaining the whole way. I felt bad. I was just like, are we done? Can we turn around? And they're
He's
just
like,
like, no,
almost.
we're
We're
gonna keep
almost up
walking.
there.
Yeah. And it was cold, so I was like, okay, we're not gonna actually go to this trail. And once Mason was like, yeah, Alexis really wants to go. I was like, okay, well, I'll do it. I'll just do it. And so once we were there, I was complaining the whole way. We went up, went back down, and then Mason's like, I want to get to this pond because he's huge in fishing, so that's what I thought it was about, was seeing some fish.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we were walking to this pond, I was like, all right, we saw it. Let's turn around. And he's like, no, we're gonna walk around it. And so I was just like, oh wow, he really wants to see these fish. And so
He just wants the best catch. That's what it is. Go on.
yeah. And then so we finally got to this spot, and my cousin was like, hey, you and Mason take a picture right here because the rocks are right behind it. And I was like, okay, perfect. And Mason looks at me, puts his head down, and starts walking to the woods. And I was like, I guess not. And so I was just like, I think he's in a bad mood. Yeah, maybe not. I'll take a picture by myself. And so I kind of just stood there and I was like, okay. He's like, oh, turn around, act like you're looking at the tree, or not the tree, excuse me, the rock. And I thought he went to go use the bathroom. So I was just like, okay, this will be some
Uh-huh.
good Instagram photos. And then I turn around and Mason comes out and he pulls out the box out of his pocket and he's just like, Val. And I was just like, oh shoot. And I was like, this is happening now. And then he's like, then that's when he just started talking and asking me. And then he went down on one knee and he just popped the question. I was like, yeah. I didn't even say yes. I felt so bad. I said, yeah. I was so like stunned in the moment where I was like, yeah, I will.
So
And then I thought
everybody
about
knew
it
but
afterwards. I
you.
was like, yeah, everyone knew. My sister said she hid the ring inside his backpack, and I had the water in there. I had water and like hand warmers in there, and so
Uh-oh.
I actually went in to grab hand warmers, and she's like, "Val, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just grabbing some hand warmers." She's like, "Yeah, they're in the bottom of the bag," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just pulled them out, and she grabbed it and put it in her little fanny pack, and then slipped it back into his bag, and that's what he went to the woods to go and grab.
Oh my, you almost ruined it.
Yeah, that's what
That's
she told me. She's like, "You could have ruined it. What's the matter with you?" I'm like, "How was I supposed to know?"
You weren't. Yeah, good point.
So-
Now that congratulations, of course. So now that it all happened, did all these other people, did it become that much more obvious? Were you like, oh, that's why, there was that many more people that were here?
Yeah, for sure. I was
Okay.
like, I started asking questions after that because I was like, I'm normally the planner in the family. Anybody that needs anything planned, I plan it. And so I was just like, well, how did you guys pull this off? Like, how didn't I know? And then Mason was like, yeah, me and Alexis planned it for like a month already. And I was like, okay. I was like, so you planned to go to that spot? He's like, yeah. He's like, I knew when I was going to do it. We planned it the minute we got off a tour. He's like, I was already thinking about it on tour. So I started talking to Alexis after tour. And I was like, oh shoot, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I just didn't know where I wanted it done. Or he's like, I already had a date in my mind, but I just didn't know where. And he's like, once I found that spot, I was like, oh, this would be perfect. And you wouldn't expect it. And so I was like, okay. And so I started asking. I was like, well, is that why this person came? Is that why, they came? And they were like, yeah, they all wanted to see it. So I was like, okay, makes sense.
Wow.
That is awesome. Job well done by your sister and Mason and everybody else
Whole
involved.
family keeping it
Yeah,
secret.
that's pretty incredible. Did it make you think twice about your complaining on the way up? Maybe.
Oh, I apologized after that. I was like, I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm like, I complained the whole way.
And to be fair, you didn't know, and if that's how you were feeling, it was, that things weren't going awesome on the way up. I mean, that's not your fault if that's how you really felt. But it sounds like a pretty awesome story. So, dare we ask, is there a big date set?
Not a date, really. We decided we wanted more time before we wanted to start planning. Again, this is our second year in tour, so we don't want to be, worried about wedding planning right now. We both agreed to like push it until at least like 2023, 2024. We'll have the wedding set. So we want some time right now just to focus on this year of
Awesome,
just playing and competing.
awesome. Do you feel there's uh, good? I was going to say a stigma, but that I feel like automatically implies something negative. What are the pros and cons to being a couple, engaged or otherwise, to being a couple on tour? What do you feel? I think the pros are maybe a little more obvious. What would you say the cons are, if any?
I think if you're playing, there's not really cons. Like me and him being able
Mm,
to play, and this is our job, so we understand each other more rather than not. Because like he understands when I want to go and play more golf because something feels off in my throw, so he's not questioning it when he wants to, let's say, go sightseeing or go on another hike because he really enjoys hiking. um he understands why I wouldn't want to go, and he's like, all right, I respect that, like let's go to the course. If you feel like something's off, I'll sit there. I'll help you if you need me to help you. If not, I'll just sit there with you. So he's really supportive. We're both understanding how it feels to be in the other person's shoes. um, I feel like if you're one player on the road, it's very hard to have, a partner just because, like I said, it's hard to understand them. But not only that, if you're not traveling with them, you're also going to miss them a lot because disc golf isn't just like a week. It's been on the road for 8 months. So that's where I feel like it gets very difficult.
And it sounds like you guys have already established that you really like, I'll say, a work-life balance, or a work slash other, or work non-work balance. How much thought have you put into that, or is that just something you arrived at naturally? I mean, have you realized from an early stage here that, hey, I can't, we're not just going to disc golf 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Uh, what? Yeah. How did you guys arrive at the balance that you have?
I feel like as we went into dating, we kind of just seen what worked, what didn't work for us. If something didn't work, it was really just talking about it and figuring it out and just understanding both of our points to each other. Like, hey, you don't see what it feels like to be in my shoes. Like, this is what I feel. Just explaining ourselves and having communication, I think, was really the important thing of our relationship. Because in the beginning, it was like, oh, well, I don't want to say this to hurt their feelings. If they're saying something that offends me. Um, I was like, I'm gonna say it right away. I'm going to be honest. I was like, I need to talk about it. Like, the more bottled up I feel, I just, it doesn't feel right because I just don't like to be mad at him if he doesn't know what he's doing to make me upset. So I'm like, or vice versa. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, just tell me so I know what to do to fix it, so that way we can just move on. And that's how he is. So we're both very honest in that department. But I feel like it was just a lot of talking and understanding each other.
Again, it sounds like you're wise beyond your years if your communication is that open and upfront already, and just cuts through probably a lot of other frustrations or games or challenges that many other people continue to deal with. So
Yeah.
that's awesome to see and hear that you already have arrived at some of those conclusions. I know you touched on it, but this year looks pretty straightforward in terms of you're hitting almost everything. You said you might miss Masters Cup, which I think is a
That's
Silver
correct.
Series this year. What would you say is the event or area or swing? Is there anything in particular that you're really looking forward to in terms of the tour and the tour life this year?
Honestly, probably Portland.
Okay.
Portland, I don't know, I always like the courses. I've always seen them in videos and I got to play the Portland Open last year.
Okay.
But that's probably the swing I'm most looking forward to just because I felt like I couldn't throw that far before and I still can't throw that far now, but I just feel like I can improve in consistency in driving, so I'm really looking forward to how I improve this year.
Okay. And then going again back, I guess, with, as you say, improvements, is there anything that you're really not comfortable with, whether it's discs and or throws? Is there anything that, tomorrow when you wake up, you're like, you know what, I still don't have blank dialed in? Is there any part of your game that's really frustrating you?
Probably my forehand right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because I worked in it so much in the off season, I felt like it got so much better than what it used to be. Excuse me. And Alexis, she compliments it sometimes, and I'm just like I fangirl over it because she used to have like a really good sidearm. Her sidearm was so much better than mine, and that was one of the goals. Was like, okay, let's pass her in a sidearm. And I felt like when she complimented me about it, she's like, "Your sidearm got so good, and it's better than mine." And I was just like, "Yes, I finally got a sidearm."
Got her.
Yeah, and then somehow along the week, I felt like I lost distance and accuracy at the same time, where I would just roll my wrist into the ground. So even playing at Waco, I didn't throw it that often as much as I would have if it was feeling 100% there. But I've been doing, like I did field work yesterday to fix it. I've been trying to work with it, trying to start from the bottom up. That's probably the only thing that's kind of bugging me right now. Like I could throw it, but I just can't throw it with full power.
Okay. Uh, I guess going into it, when you were starting to get nitpicky about things, I would ask, do you feel that winning at Waco as opposed to, would there have been any other course that would feel, dare I say, sweeter
Or a special.
or as special or I mean, you've had a lot of success in Texas. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know we had them at our fingertips with all the events that you've won largely in Texas, obviously, living there. But is that course any different than if you were at Vegas a few weeks ago, or if you were to instead win in Jonesboro or any other place? Is a win a win? Does it matter where it was?
Honestly, to be my first, no. Like for it to be my first, it was a little more special being here in Texas.
Okay.
Just because I'm so like Texas pride.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously love the state of Texas, and they taken me as like I was born and raised here. Um, Obviously I'm not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
from Illinois, but I claim Texas as my home just because of my grandparents. They were born and raised here, so I got to experience a lot of Texas. But yeah, it's a place of like hitting home. It's like winning in my home state. It made it that much special for my first win. Hearing everybody cheer for me, and I knew everyone was rooting for me as the cheers went on. I'd pitch out of a bush, and they were screaming, "Yeah, Valerie!" And I was just like, "Oh, okay, definitely the crowd favorite right now." But it just made it that much more special.
So
Yeah.
then she's going to take Ledgestone then, so she can have both home states.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Good
See?
idea.
That's the goal.
And I'll be the
Thinking
first.
for ya.
I'll be the first to admit after a couple of years of being around and seeing you guys, I was always a little bit confused as well. And you kind of just touched on that. Me being from Wisconsin, also coincidentally being I know as crazy it is, I'm a Cubs fan, and then seeing you guys always wearing Chicago
Cubs.
gears, having being in Chicago for a number of events that I was like, why are they here when they're from Texas? Like, so it kind of put it all together, after all these years. But yeah, as Johnny just said, I mean, Ledgestone seems like the no-brainer. And then while you're at it, you might as well take down the DDO for your new sponsorship. I mean, you might as well just run the whole tour.
Yeah, honestly, that would be nice. That's the plan, as they say.
That's the plan. I like it. And then you said you were talking to Kristen. Was there any conversation, lighthearted conversation about anything outside of the golf? Because
Hand
I think
warmers. We saw the hand warmer clip that you were talking about.
but I just think of her Latitude sponsorship, obviously within the whole Trilogy family, as it's phrased. You said you were throwing one of her signature discs.
Yep, that's kind of what we talked about. I think it was early on in the round. She was just asking me like, how was the switch going, and like, what was my main like staples in my bag. And I mentioned to her I was throwing the putter, and she's like, "You like it? Do you really like the putter?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually do." I was like, a lot of people were actually asking me what was I going to throw because they knew I threw the Nova a lot, and I was like, and I felt like that disc fit that slot.
Okay. Yeah. You just tell her, I'm not doing this to suck up to you or be friends with you.
Yeah, no,
I really do
like,
love this
no,
disc.
Trust me, I really do like it. Yeah.
Is there anything you could say about the rest of your competition this weekend? You last year we saw Kona win by 12 and have this breakout event. Then you and Kristen kind of pulled away from the field. Owen wanted to challenge and was, in the conversation. Obviously, Kat had that stellar final round, but what can you say about the competition this weekend?
honestly, we all played. I don't know. I felt like everyone had some off weeks, everyone had some highlight weeks. I feel like it's just the part of the tour. I really can't like single anything out.
Yeah, it's funny how Waco continues to I don't want to say surprise.
It produces different winners.
Yeah,
it
it
Yes.
creates variety for sure. And yeah, to have you on that list is incredible.
I feel like the course doesn't require a ton of distance. It requires more accuracy of anything. So, I mean, obviously distance always helps if you're, especially if you're accurate, but there's not holes out there that I feel like Paige Pierce has much of a huge advantage, or Evelina, or someone else who can throw, we'll say 425 to 450 regularly. They don't seem to have a huge advantage out there as opposed to someone who is just clean, keeping it clean. And I think this Waco tends to produce, I think, the cleanest wins. So.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you have to have every part in your game on, I would say. Like you said, it all just comes down to like clean golf. As long as you're not taking, bogeys on double bogeys and triple bogeys. If you're playing fairway golf, even if you would just, par most of the holes and have a few birdies, you're on top of most of the field.
Yeah, and then as if people didn't get a full depiction or understanding of it, how brutal was that opening round on Friday? And how did you cope with it?
Oof. It was so cold. It was so cold. It was so like the weather alone was just miserable. I had a really good card, a really fun card, but it was like we all started off like strong, like we were gonna have fun. It was going to be a good round. We were gonna turn it around to the middle of it. We're all kind of just like, we need to get through this round, guys. We need to get through it. We're almost there. And then it was just like, honestly, it felt like who could play the fastest. That's what it came down to. Like we're all just like, oh, is it me or is it you? I'll go. It's fine. I'll go. Even if I'm out, I'll go. And then at the end, once we hit like 15, we're all like, we're almost there, guys. These are the hardest holes, but we're almost there. We can be in a warm environment after this. And it was honestly, it was just brutal. The wind was hard on my skin. I think everyone said the same thing. We all talked about like fingers cracking, peeling of the skin just because of wind burn. Just all around, it was just a brutal round.
Well, clearly you persevered. It turned out to be this incredible weekend, and obviously the awesome success that it was. Johnny, I see, has it pulled up. We're going to, if it's all right, we're going to share it with the world, even if it's not all right with you. We're going to share with the world. We see that there's a commemorative disc. Can you talk a little bit about this? It looks like it's available right now.
Yes, it is available. I mean, they did it really fast, I will say. Eric messaged me after the event and he's like, we'll have these discs out, by this date ready. And I was like, wow, that's going to be pretty fast. I mean, I love it. I love how it came out. The stamp I really like. When he told me what it was going to be, I was like, okay, I kind of pictured it in my head, but again, you could always picture things in your head, but when you see it, it's obviously a lot better.
Yeah, and are there different options to drop down there?
Yeah,
Johnny?
you can. For those of you, maybe
we're gonna plug these for you
that don't want to get a getaway. I don't know why you wouldn't get this in a getaway, but
yeah, that'd be silly.
There's a felon, a justice, a trespass, a sword, and a warship. So you can get that, different disc molds and any quantity as well. So
oh my gosh,
if you want to order 5,
try
of
and
them,
type in 200. Let's see if it'll let us add 200.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hit add to cart, Terry. Let me see your credit card real quick.
So everybody should go over it. They've got them on dynamicdisc.com, and that's where they can pick them up. Before we let you go, we have to learn what are all the best ways that people can follow along your journey, and then also what are the ways that they can support you.
Honestly, like you guys said, buying one of those discs, you guys can support me with that. I believe my Instagram is, don't quote me on this, I hope I get it right, is Valerie _Mandujano 99. That's how you guys can follow me and see what I post. I'll be posting a lot. You guys can see my journey through this tour.
Okay, I'm gonna double check you. Oh, Valerie. Okay, I think I've typed in Val. I know I tagged you on a message.
I'm pretty sure that's
early.
what it is.
We'll find you. Valerie _ yes, $99. Gotcha. All right. I'm going to put that in the chat as well so that people can follow along with you there. Oh, and where you have a picture of the disc. So if anyone is confused in any way, shape, or form, you can go out and see it. That was one of your most recent posts there as well. Incredible. And then can we hear who your sponsors are and shout them out, please?
Yeah, for sure. Dynamic Disc is my main sponsor, my disc sponsor. Then it'll be Foundation Disc Golf, Birdie Fuel, and Lucky Ace.
Awesome. Anything that we didn't cover? Anything we should be asking you about that you want to share with the world?
Oh, I think that's it for right now. Up until we'll show the RV in another week.
Okay, and that's a great...
It'll be on our Instagram, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's the timeline. You're playing in Belton this weekend, we presume, right?
Yes,
and then,
I will be leaving tomorrow early morning.
Okay. How far is Belton from where you're at?
I believe 2 hours.
Okay.
That's not too bad for Texas.
That's what I looked up earlier, but it could have been traffic.
Sure. And Texas is so large. Most of the geography, I have no idea. You could have told me 9 hours. I'd be like, okay, I'll believe that.
Well, not knowing where she is and knowing the size of Texas. Yeah.
And then after that, Texas State's, of course, right there. I mean, it's got to feel good that, you get this little swing. One thing we didn't touch on real quick is you didn't kick off in not Arizona, sorry,
Vegas.
in Vegas. What led to that decision to not be at the opening event?
Honestly, there was a couple of decisions, but one of the main ones was my grandfather. He was sick at the time, and this was around like December when we were all talking about it. We really didn't know how many months or weeks we were going to have with him. It was supposed to be 6 more months on top of the new year.
Sure.
So I told Alexis and Mason I didn't want to go just because of the fact that if I do get more time, that's what I want. And then he unfortunately passed away on the 1st or 31st, excuse me. And so we could have went, but I just didn't want to go. I was just like, I don't feel ready enough to go. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Really, it came down to that one reason. And so we just didn't want to start off the tour there. I was like, Texas is better. We could just tour there, and I really wanted to spend more time with my grandmother and mom.
100% logical, and not that you owe any world any explanations, but that makes perfect sense. And obviously, we understand how close you are with all of your family, and it sounds like you made the right decision. So, well, we can't say congratulations enough. I mean, it was so awesome. I know, I'll say it again, Valerie and I in the booth in Bend had so much fun calling the action. It was such a great battle. And then
way better than the men's battle. The men, honestly, so many people watch the MPO coverage and tend to forget about the FPO coverage, especially in post-production. I had so much more fun watching the FPO coverage, and I usually do, but this time particularly, it was such a great battle. It was so much fun to watch you guys.
Yeah, it was incredible, and we're hoping that this is going to be the first of many for you. It was awesome to see, and as you said, you proved it to yourself, and you've clearly proven it to the rest of the world, and it feels, I'm sure, good showing it to your sponsor and everything else, and everyone else. So congratulations, and most importantly, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, well, get some rest. Enjoy more time in your home state. Go over to Belton, and we'd love to see another solid performance over there. So best of luck to you, and we'll see you. If it's not Belton, we'll see you at the next one at Texas State. Best of luck to you. Travel safely to you and your entire crew.
For sure. Thank you, guys. See you
all
guys.
right, thank you. Have a good night. See ya. All right, our champion. How incredible.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
I will be going out. Mark my words. I'm going to go out and get myself one of those commemorative discs, and then once I get it packed along, one time when I'm out on the road this year, I'm going to make sure to have her sign one of those. That's pretty awesome. So congratulations. And kudos to Dee Dee for jumping on that.
I was just going to say that with the new move to her, to Dee Dee for the sponsorship, look at how supportive they are for these type of wins. A custom Dymax disc immediately. I mean, literally immediately after the win. And it's a lot of times we may not see sometimes when some of the FPO win a major that they might not get a disc depending on the major, and she wins her first Elite Series event, and they're immediately on it. I'm excited. You know what? We can get the whole collection of Valerie discs at the end of the year for all of her wins.
Well, by like the 9th win, they'll be like, all right, we're running out of discs. You know,
the Dimax is out of ink.
No, congratulations to her, and congratulations to Dee Dee and everyone that's continued to support her and her family's journey. Such an amazing disc golf family. I love seeing them out there week in and week out anytime I'm on site. And again, I know she's been inundated with countless requests.
Imagine.
I know. I had to like go around to the next guy just to ask her to check a PM. Because she's probably been just so overloaded with so many people reaching out, and that is definitely a good problem to have as a champion. So again, congrats and thanks.
Yeah, amazing. Just amazing.
All right, so we've got Paul Ulibarri who wants to join us here tonight. Do you want me to send him the...
Yeah, same one.
Okay, so I'm going to send him that, but he's also, he's put in a request. Let's see if we can get his brother on here. We're going to have to see if the technology will allow it.
So both of them?
Potentially. That's what he sent me a message on.
I'm going to need to send him a different... I'm going to have to send you a different call link.
Can you send me another one?
I can.
In addition to that? Okay, and then it'll take a second on your end. So, Paul, if you're listening, I have, in fact, sent you a little link that I'm going to need you to click on, and then in the midst of doing that, we're going to also get another link available, and we might be able to get your brother pulled in on this if that's the route we're going. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and while Johnny does that, I'm going to quickly just touch on, while Johnny's going through that stuff, some of the results from this weekend. Of course, we just talked to our champion in Valerie Mandujano, taking it down ultimately with a 9-under overall, a 7-under during that last round, which is just one off of tying the course record. Kristen Tatar finished 4 behind her at 5 under. Katrina Allen also, I don't want to say trying to steal a little thunder, but definitely was part of the storyline for sure come Sunday, as she shot an 8 under, which does tie Owen Scoggins' previous course record from the year before. And Katrina shot all the way from 17th place into 3rd place. And she surpassed Kat Murch in doing so. Kat then finishes just off the podium, tied for 4th, along with Owen Scoggins. So congratulations to all of them. Some really solid performance and play out there. Tons of birdies that were picked up. Hannah Blumros ended up having 5 birdies in a row during one stretch, and ended up moving up 1 spot into a tie for 6th, along with Macy Valadez, who also then tied Paige Pierce. And over on the men's side, I'll quickly recap a few of their scores. We saw, of course, Paul McBeth taking it down. With his 23 under. Was essentially, not too often do you say, yeah, I finished bogey, and still won the tournament and won it by 3. But that's what holes 17 and 18 can produce at that course.
Well, 18, I mean, I don't necessarily think that there's much to say about 18 in general on that course or any course, because every person will take a bogey on a layup to win.
Sure.
Every single one.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
But
so
17 is...
Yeah, so hole 17, as you said, Paul took a bogey. Anyway, Luke Humphreys finishing 2nd. Clearly a story in his own right. What we've seen out of Luke Humphreys, these last 2 Pro Tour events have been incredible. Chris Clemens, Joel Freeman, kind of, I don't want to say quietly, but yeah, kind of quietly, just snuck up and jumped into that tie for 3rd. Chris Clemens moved up 6 spots to get there into that tie for 3rd, and Joel Freeman was on the chase card, so that's why he was a little less of the conversation, but he jumped into that tie for 3rd at 17 under, so they were 3 back of Luke and 6 back of McBeth. Thomas Gilbert moved up 26 spots into a tie for 5th, along with Aaron Gossage, who moved up 18 spots as they tied with Cale, Isaac Robinson, and Chris Dickerson. So that kind of rounded out your top 10. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we can say any more about Waco other than, as Johnny mentioned, it likes to produce a variety of results, variety of winners, and good, clean golf often will lead you to some solid scores, but sometimes a break on 17 can cost you a few extra. Sometimes just an ounce of aggression can cost you a couple strokes on 18. I mean, there's a lot of things that can still go sideways.
A couple of storylines. Obviously, Luke Humphreys continuing to play well from Vegas. Wondering if Vegas as well as Waco, I think, a certain type of player tends to finish well at Vegas. Your long thrower. We've seen it before, but Luke not known for that. So him playing well and then following it up at Waco is phenomenal. Kale continuing his top 5 there. There's just something about that course and Kale that mesh. You could to take top 5 at Waco more than one time, because as we say, it produces different winners. It almost, I don't want to say it feels like a slot machine for the top 10, because we do see the top players tend to finish well, but Kale consistently finishing there, even after watching one of the most brutal rollaways that you will get on 17 for poor Kale. We were live and we had it showing from the drone, and it just, every once in a while I like to take a drone shot, kind of just to see, especially on that island, which is really cool, the way that thing kind of slowly made its way. All of us in the control room are going like, no, stop, sit down. And even Mo has a rule, no cheering in the control room for players. But man, that was just the grossest roll away I've seen in a while. And amazing. So congratulations on Kale, starting a new cash streak, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's got to do. And again, a top 5 finish, as you said there, still very impressive. So he's got some consistency down. There's no doubt about it, being 2nd, 3rd, and 5th all there. And truly being in contention for even a higher spot, barring, again, a couple of bad breaks. And that's why you say you got to play them all, unfortunately, sometimes. Excuse me.
We do have one.
Yeah, I've sent a message over to Pete, and we'll see if he's going to possibly be able to jump on, if that's what's happening or not, and if we can get a confirmation one way or another. If he's ready to go, then we could possibly bring them both in. It looks like Paul's going to be ready here to go in a second.
Paul's ready. We can bring him in, and when Pete jumps on, he'll just pop into the good old screen.
All right. I guess we can do that. So, without further ado, we're going to welcome in one Paul Ulibarri.
Hey, buddy.
What up,
Paul.
guys?
How you doing, man?
How are you?
We just keep on doing what we're doing.
Good. I'm worried about my connection. Tell me if everything's going.
So far, so
great.
good. You're live with us, and everything looks pretty good and sounds pretty good. So,
got your own neon sign. What more do you need?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, look how you're living large with a neon
That was a
sign.
gift, man.
That's pretty sweet. All right, so
I know, man. My editor sent it to me as a gift.
And that feels like have you arrived like via YouTube when you have like your own cool backlighting? Because I feel like, you look at Simon and you look at all the really big successful YouTubers, like your own backlighting is what's needed, right? Custom.
It's funny because last year I had, what did I have? I had a poster, and then I would get a neon light on the poster.
Mm-hmm.
So I've upgraded a little bit.
Dang, moving up. Okay, so
have I arrived? I have arrived because I am on Smashbox. So
flattery will get you everywhere with us.
Yes, it will. Man.
So it's been a little while since we've had you. You've, of course, have been on and off recurring with us. I guess maybe that's the definition.
For years and years and
years.
years.
Of recurring. But, man, since we've last talked here on the show, you've only gotten busier. And it sounds like you got a lot of things going on. I mean,
amounts of busy.
Bushnell, Zuka, Jomez.
I do. I also have a delay in hearing you guys, so bear with me.
Okay.
In that.
Yeah, we'll give a couple seconds after our questions for you to answer. But as Terry was saying, it feels like almost every commercial break we see a Ulibarri commercial on the DGN. You have so many sponsors.
Yeah, everybody just keep throwing money at you.
It's just my way of, keeping in your guys' life, and and that's all. My only goal was I wanted to make sure to be in Johnny V and Terry's peripheral at all times.
Yeah.
Trust me, pal, you are.
So you were somewhat public and forthcoming, of course, about your weekend this weekend, and because we are friends, break it down for the world. A lot of people are concerned and hope that you're doing all right, that you personally, physically, mentally, all of those things, but break down this weekend for you and, kind of just walk us through the process, and then how do you bounce back?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously this weekend was horrific as far as my gameplay. I mean, I just didn't have anything off the tee. I didn't have anything on the putting green. Mentally was exhausted. I didn't catch any good breaks. And so when your mental state is, not performing at its best, which is just as important as the physical part, things can just fall apart. And I saw that this weekend. But at the same time, it's not like it hasn't happened before. Like it's something I've dealt with on and off through my whole career. I've had big time lows, I feel like, and I've had big time highs, just like anybody. Well, not just like anybody. I feel like some of the best players in the world, they're just on like a steady incline of up, up, and up. And unfortunately, that's not something that I've had to deal with in my career. I mean, I almost dropped out of. I think I was like 10-10 at one point in 2012, and the next year I was ranked fifth in the world. So it's not something, like I said, that I've never dealt with. I mean, I am dealing with injuries here and there. I won't go into detail, but as far as this week was how that happened, and it's just going to take a little time off, reflect, and get back to work.
What's the next event you're playing in? Are you going to Belton? Are you going to Texas States? Or are you going to, hang up the bag for a couple weeks?
No, so, I definitely was never going to play Belton. I told myself, with my busy schedule, that I was going to try to only play like 2 or 3 Silver Series this year, only Pro Tours and majors. And so Belton I scratched off the list. And so my next tournament will be Texas States, which I definitely contemplated not playing that, especially after the last, I don't know, 2, 3 months of play. My first event was All Stars, and people don't know this, but in the off season, what was it, 3.5 weeks before the All Star event, I fractured my ankle, my right ankle. And so I went to All Stars to play. I didn't really tell anybody because I don't like a pity party, and I just went out there and played, and I just haven't been my best. So that combined with then when you're playing on a hurt ankle, I mean, your timing gets off, of course. I mean, that's your plant foot. And then because of that, I pulled a tendon sheath in my elbow, trying to do more arm than anything. So then I was dealing with that, and that turned into severe tendonitis, which I'm being worked on right now. So it was like a lot of things kind of in a row. And then, when that happens, you still I've played through injuries my whole career. Like I said, I don't want to pity athletes. And after this last weekend, I definitely was a question like, okay, do I just take Texas State's off and regroup, get in the field, and that's just not what I do. I'm going to be back out there competing at Texas State's, and I'll do a little practice this week and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, and so somebody would then ask, and maybe you kind of just answered that, if you feel like it's more of an actual physical grind as opposed to mental, because then someone would say, hey, Paul, are you stretching yourself too thin? Are you involved in too many endeavors that then have taken away from your focus on the course? It looks like your brother has just joined us live as well. Pete, you're live to the world. Hot mic.
Hi. Okay.
Just so you know. But yeah,
Okay.
so the question is, is it mostly physical, or is it mental?
Yeah, I get that a lot now. Whenever I play bad, people think that it's because I spread myself too thin. I'm constantly working. I have new ideas. I have new projects. Um, and that's just not it at all. If playing good comes first in what I do, now that my brother's on, he can attest for that. And if I was spreading myself too thin as far as all that, guys, I wouldn't do it. It's a physical battle right now, that I'm going through. It has been for years. It seems like I haven't been healthy since 2018. I mean, I had my ACL surgery, and it's just one thing after another. But I've also played really good sometimes when I have been injured. So it's not that's not it at all. And as far as those other things, no, I'm only gonna probably get busier. I'm my best person when I'm busy and doing things. Um, I've never been more successful in my life with anything I've ever done as far as disc golf than right now, and that's because I enjoy it and I love it.
And then maybe the last question along those lines, and then we'll get updated from your brother here. But one of the big transitions or life moments for you, milestones is the word I'm looking for, this last few months was that you purchased a house in North Carolina. Is that right? And why is everybody moving there?
I did, yeah. That's where it's nice out here, man. The land's cheap. You can get a big old house. The weather's pretty good. Always. I mean, this winter, I think it was their worst winter ever, and I could still practice and give lessons every week. So, yeah, my winter was very productive. So, I mean, North Carolina or South Carolina is just awesome. I mean, I'm 3 miles from Winthrop Gold, so whenever I want to practice, I got a really nice course that I can practice that's right next to my house.
Well, congratulations on all of those successes. And now we're also welcoming in your brother, Pete. Pete, I just saw you, I don't know, 8 or 10 days ago. And I think we're going to have some MP40 coverage. I was literally editing it today. So
Awesome.
We've got that taking place from your run to defend your title at the Memorial from last week. But welcome to the show. And
no spoilers, Terry.
I know. I'm not going to say what happened. I said he's in his title defense. So, Pete, welcome.
I'm just making sure.
Coming in from Arizona now. And how you doing, man? How's life treating you?
I'm doing good. I'm just kind of, we took a pretty good swing at that tournament, and I'm looking forward to seeing the coverage. I always learn a lot by watching that stuff in retrospect and seeing what I can do to become a better golfer too. And it's been a busy couple of weeks since then. So, I've had a lot of things going. Educating my kid, playing some disc golf.
Yeah, and your day to day for the most part, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your day to day, you full time raise your son, and then I was going to say educate him, I guess.
That's the truth.
You're at the stay at home educator for your son, and then you go out play. Still, how much golf are you playing these days?
It depends. It's been nice. I've been giving a lot of lessons also, so that's been coming along really well with the explosion of the sport, and that's taken a really good some good time. But I really enjoy that part of the game, and the schooling with my son. That takes a good chunk of the day now because, well, the older he gets, the more he has to learn. So,
and you can answer honestly. Who's the better teacher? Who's the better disc golf teacher? You or your brother? You're both doing lessons now. Who's the better? If you had to take someone, we've seen scratch to scratch. Do you think you could? Compete with a scratch to scratch player?
I think together we could make a smoking deal.
That's the cheap answer. Come on.
I think Pete's probably a better teacher, but I'm definitely a better actor, so I don't think he should make any attempts at a scratch-to-scratch type situation.
Let's go with that. I like that one.
Okay. Pete, what are we gonna? We just kind of talked through the schedule a little bit, or kind of what Paul's outlook is on high level events and what his year will kind of look like. How about for yourself? Obviously you have a lot of things going on, and you're not a touring, a week in and week out touring, nationwide player. But what does your schedule kind of look like for playing golf this year?
I think kind of like what it's looked like in the years past is the playing a lot of local around Arizona, run a couple tournaments, and then really like my goal again this year is to get to Masters Worlds. I felt like I had a really good swing at that last year. Had some injury stuff kind of come up just before. I mean, it's Masters Worlds, so who's not showing up questioning what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
But and then hopefully get to Worlds. So, other than that, I mean, mainly local, little bros out in the Carolinas now. So maybe, depending on plane tickets at some point, maybe we can take a swing out there and crash the new pad. But we'll see. I've got a wife. Today's my 13th wedding anniversary, and so I like to make it to the 14th and 15th and the 50th too. So that's what keeps. I like that more than I even like disc golf. So.
Well, congratulations, of course, to you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can tell she's right behind him.
Just right
Actually,
on camera.
Little kid's trying to sneak in is what he's doing.
Like, you better get my shout out in there. I'll wring your neck.
No, she's amazing.
Yes.
She's really amazing. So.
So as the memorial was wrapping up, on a more serious note, as the memorial was wrapping up, your mother, who was so gracious and kind and helped out me and my crew with finding some additional lodging. We had our largest crew there doing post production, and so I'd met with your mom in Vegas, and she was providing some help in that regard. But then there was some news that came in. Can you kind of tell us, we've seen a post or two, but can you guys kind of break down what's unfolded and how things are going?
Let's see. She headed home early. She was not feeling as well, and so she headed home on Sunday. That was the final day of the memorial, and then I got home after the tournament after watching Paul play and hanging out for a while. We got home, and that evening I just got a message that said, actually my sister was calling because my phone was still on silent from my round, so I'd missed a couple phone calls, that mom's house had caught fire. So, at that moment, it's just kind of like, let's see how everything is going to come about. I threw some stuff in a bag and was waiting if I needed to take off up the mountain. My sisters, both of them live in Show Low, and so they were able to get over there rather quickly and at least see what they could do at least to help her out. The house that Paul and I we basically I didn't grow up in it because I lived a couple other places, but Paul basically grew up in that house, and so over the years of living there, we did a ton of remodels of the place. It's a beautiful home. Tons of working hardwood floors, and I mean, most of my life I've been a carpenter before had a kid, and so essentially somewhere in the stovepipe, maybe it's 30, 40-year-old stovepipe, I guess, and it looks like maybe the stovepipe got hot and caught the attic in it on fire. But basically, mom smelled some smoke and kind of made a few phone calls and was talking to my stepdad, Sean, and asking him what to do. Because with a wood burning stove, I don't know if how many people still do that, but you'll still smell smoke here and there if you get a backdraft or something. And so, he had her checking all the right things, and then said, well, let's just air the house out. And so had her open the door, and then boom, the whole, at least the house got a big flow of air, which sucked up into the attic. And she's all, that was weird. And so Sean had her go out and check, and there was fire coming out the roof. So within 10 minutes, the fire department was there, and they were amazing. They did a whole lot of things to they went in, got on it right away. It had basically burned out about half the attic over the living room and headed towards her bedroom. And it was really lucky she caught it when she did, because it would have basically fire blocked in her whole bedroom, the addition that is that. And with all that though, like I went up on Monday right away, and we just kind of went through a whole lot of stuff, and basically everything is ruined. Everything from clothes to, 30 years of their life is there, and it's pretty tough. So right now we're just, we've gone up and spent some time up there picking up the wreckage or what we can of it, and salvaging the couple things we can, some pictures and things like that. So I think the big challenges of it, the major part of the home was an older mobile home as the centerpiece, and then we had a bunch of additions that we had built off it, because as the kids grew up and we had grandparents that came back and lived, and I mean, I've got a friend of mine that we had built an addition on for to take care of him when he was older, and we just did the house has been there, and it's, like I said, it's a beautiful place. It's completely ruined, smoke damage, and so now, I mean, the thing that we're looking to do now is we've basically got to demolish the whole thing, and because there's really not, it's going to be more to even try and save anything than to just demolish it and then see where we land there.
Yeah, and I think to a number of holidays where I've seen, it seems like everybody there. I know, I've seen you guys, and Ricky, I know, has been around for a number of holidays, and your mom has countless times also said, hey, anytime you're in the area, you're more than welcome to stop by, whether it's, Drew Gibson, just tons of our players and friends of all of us. And it's always seemed to have this very warm and welcoming, friendly, everyone's welcome mentality. Hav and Amy Jo, I know we're up there, seemingly not long ago. And so certainly, I think of the memories that you guys have obviously all had there. I guess it's kind of a catch-22 in that it was a good thing she didn't feel well and she went home early, and then maybe even caught it when she did, because if she didn't feel well, maybe she wouldn't have been there at all. I don't know if it's looked at of, half empty or half full with that scenario, huh? I mean, thankfully she was still safe.
Yeah, we've gone through, when something like this happens, like I said, it's 30 years of my parents' life. It's got by this and ruined. And, looking at a lot of things, because it is glass half full. And then there's moments it's glass fully empty, just there's a lot of, I don't know if the right word is trauma, but it is, I guess, trauma, it's pretty devastating. And so, going through the day to day right now, just seeing what's next, the big challenge has just been to say, let's take the next step, one step at a time. When you get into the house and you start trying to go through to save anything, it's absolutely overwhelming. There's 30 years of life there that we've, well, do I take the pens? You don't know what the pens are the only thing that's okay right now. It's been a place for a lot of people for a very long time, to kind of like you said, for a family to come in, for the disc golf family to come in and have a place to land and just decompress over Christmas, over Thanksgiving, and so it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I was then made aware of, it just started in the last couple hours, of a GoFundMe that's been started. Obviously, we hope to see a huge outpouring of support. I posted it here in the link. We'll post it in some other places as well. But, I think it sounds as if there was because of how you described the development of the property, the development of the house, it sounds like there's an additional challenge with regard to how it was either assessed and or insured. I think a lot of people would say, well, yeah, it sucks. However, you're going to be taken care of. And it sounds like there's hurdles in order for that to happen. Can you explain those?
Yeah. One of the big challenges with it is because the trailer itself, my parents bought it back in the 90s from some friends who were moving. So from that point in time, I think coming forward, it was not, the insurance companies would not insure it because it was an older trailer.
Mm.
And like when you look at the house, you would have never thought it was a trailer. You walk in and because of all the work we've done over the years to it too, and remodeling and opening stuff up but so essentially, I think up to now, well, besides the point, like it hasn't been able to be insured because it's a trailer. And so, they've just been living with it that way. So with this, that leaves us basically at a place going, well, where do we start from? And, right now that leaves the challenge of just, I think, like I said, we're looking at, well, it's a demolish, and it is basically a total loss. Essentially, the value that the fire department put on the loss is pretty hefty. I don't want to, I can tell you privately, but it's far more than we could, we even imagined ourselves. But like I said, 30 years of life in there, and time, and hardwood floors, and all the leftovers, because we built homes for
Yeah,
25 years. And go ahead, Paulie.
when you think about like a mobile home, yeah, when you think about a mobile home, you think your thoughts can wander. But my brother and my stepdad are the best carpenters I've ever known or ever seen, and we're talking about hours of piece by piece woodwork on every single wall, over every single countertop, in the ground that they put. Restroom was personalized with every pebble that they put in there by themselves. You walk in there and it's the most beautiful home you could ever imagine, along with being, comfortable. That's why it's not a surprise. My mom's cooking is good, but everybody liked to go there because comfortable is beautiful, really nice. And so, I got a call from my mom the night after the the tournament, and she was just watching it burn. I was on the phone with her, so I got up and I headed out there early in the morning. I walked in there, and I wasn't in there for 2 minutes before I walked back out, and my clothes were ruined that I was wearing. Like, there was no getting the smell out of my clothes that I had just walked in there for 2 minutes. Like, it was brutal. And like my brother said, the memories that we put in there are crazy. Like, I have a routine of walking in, grabbing a couple discs, and walking right back out and throwing a couple putts, and that's exactly what I did. So to lose that is like, I walked in, saw the smoke, saw my discs on the countertop, grabbed a couple, handed one to my caddy Brad, and we walked out, threw a couple putts at the basket. But that's just what I was used to doing for 20 years, and so obviously the financial loss is like an insane amount, and like he said, we don't even need to go into it because it's unfathomable. Really, especially when you put the title mobile home on it.
Mm-hmm.
that is not what it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've talked to my mom every day since the incident, and some days are good, some days are bad. I mean, how do you replace that stuff?
Yeah. And, and I'm going to follow it up and say, again, from all the pictures I've ever seen, I kind of liken it to when I was informed the first time I went to Steve Dodge's house, and we were sitting at the time we were standing in his kitchen, and you guys have been in Steve's house, and he's like, this was the whole house. Like, literally it was, like a not even a 15 by 15 room. Yeah. He's like, this was the house when it was built here, decades ago, and now it's literally 5 times the size. But what is now the kitchen was the entire house, and that's kind of how I liken, to what you guys had. That mobile home was, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, you're probably talking, 25, 30, or 2,500, maybe 3,000 square feet. I mean, there was, again. So I guess I want to drive home the point. Yes, we're not the stereotypical mobile home assumption and or vision. It was so far from that, and that isn't even an accurate, really, description, I'm assuming.
Well, as of right now, one of the ideas, I mean, the main thing is we're going to have to get it demolished, and so yeah. I think that's the main thing that we're looking for with the GoFundMe, is at least just to cover the demolishing of the major part of at least 90% of what's there. There's a back room that we had built that is a full foundation, and it's like 25 by 25, maybe 25 by 30. It's a beautiful back room. We're gonna have to gut the whole thing and pull all the drywall, pull the tongue and groove and stuff off the ceiling, and then that at least is we can maybe but once that's separated from the main part of the house, then we can kind of make a place for them to at least possibly land, do some little bit of remodeling in that, and just make like a tiny home for now until we can move on and see what's next. So the main thing is I think the whole place is probably close to 3,500 square feet that has got to be yanked out. Like I said, it's a regular, double wide, and then porches that were extended on, and then turned into turned into bedrooms, and then turned into living rooms, and so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Is just the major cost to upfront is really, which that I hope we can really get taken care of. I mean, we're going to figure it out one way or another. So with the GoFundMe and that getting started, we really appreciate that happening, and that at least to give us a start on taking care of Mom's place
Never
and places.
talking about a GoFundMe that's going to demolish my childhood home. That's pretty crazy to even say.
Yeah.
It's humorous and not. It's the gallows humor. And I know there's some people on the board that are like, yeah, this is a little sad, but it is. And sometimes, as I say, real life gets in the way of our little clown show at times. But this is, these are things that are part of our community. These are part of, this is,
It is.
the Ulibarris have been not just a part of Smashbox, but a part of disc golf and Arizona and, forever, for a long time. I mean, Pete's done the drone flyovers that you see at many of the post-production coverage, and Paul's been on this show forever, and just we all know how big the family is, and it's so just as we were saying, there is a GoFundMe out there. We'll put it in our show notes. It is also in our chat on YouTube. If you can, if you have some that you would help out Pat and Sean with, by all means, and it's bad things happen to a lot of people, and we do see a lot of GoFundMes, and Pat has been I think I've said this 1,000 times about different people's parents and live broadcasting. I loved watching Pat. She would watch whenever Paul's on the live, or I would say Pete, but Pete, you're not on our live. We get Paul.
Okay.
Whenever Paul's on the live broadcast, Pat would be up there. She'd be on there chatting, and they're members of our community, and if we can help out, by all means, we do.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and say also it's been started by Marty. Marty, who's been a staple in the Arizona scene,
and a live commentator.
And a
with
live
Paul
commentator.
At one point.
Yep. I think Pete and Paul both jumped in at one point or another. So Marty's got things organized and is all out there available. I see one of our Smashies, Tim. You already jumped on and donated. So Tim, we appreciate that so much, as I'm sure they do as well. So. Thank you guys. We'll continue to share it. I'll follow it up. Of course, the GoFundMe is available, and we hope to see that continue to grow. Is there anything else that can be done? And I asked that of your mom, and I know she's in the middle of probably a million things, but is there anything else that the disc golf community at large can be doing to assist you guys and your mom? Is there anything else aside from GoFundMe?
Go ahead, Paul. If you have an idea.
My mom just is at every tournament she can possibly be at, and as she's at the tournament, she shows up beforehand, hours before. She watches all the women's coverage. She loves watching Katrina play. She loves watching Jen Allen play. Afterwards, she'll go to lunch, dinner with all kinds of people. I mean, I've showed up to places to eat late at night, and my mom's there with all kinds of people eating. I mean, she's just part of that scene, and it's sad to see her go through this, for sure. But I have no doubt that the community is going to come together and just, what, if you've ever met her, send her a good message saying for or whatever. I mean, that stuff goes a long ways, period, which I know a lot of you guys have, but that's basically all I would say.
Yeah. It's been one of the coolest things is that disc golf itself. And I suppose everybody out there watching and listening and has ever paid much attention, why I tend to believe that a majority of why a lot of us love this sport is the community. And, it's a lot funner to play with people than it is to play by yourself. And so community makes up a large aspect of this sport. Yeah. But see, like I'm a little different than you, Paul, because you'd rather just whoop up on me on the course, and I'd rather just give you a hug.
Well, he'll give you a hug after he whoops up on you.
Yeah,
But...
yeah.
So, real quick, out on the
I'm
board,
not that mean.
out on the board, and I know this isn't necessarily for our audio listeners, but if you're watching live, Beacon Sports says that they will match up to $500 that anything that's given in the next hour. So it is currently
awesome. Thank you.
10:51 here in the Central Time Zone. So if you were thinking about it and you're on the board, Beacon Sports will match. So please, by all means,
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Appreciated.
Yeah, and
hey,
I'll,
Terry.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I'm just going to go. Terry, Johnny, Paul. It is my 25th anniversary. 20th. I'll get there one day.
It feels like 25.
You just aged that many more years, huh?
I use that number a lot for the home. It's my anniversary. I have some dinner waiting. Yes. It's really important to me to go for that. Thank you, everybody, for considering. Take care of your people at home too. Paul, love you, brother. We'll talk to you later.
Love you, buddy. Happy anniversary to you guys.
Happy anniversary.
See you guys.
See ya. All right. So, as we were just, I was about to say to tag on to what you just said, Paul. Your mom has always been such a huge supporter of so many competitors, and whether it's FPO, MPO, it doesn't matter. And there's oftentimes she's not following you around. She'll go follow another group around. She obviously has friends that she's made in addition to just being out there to support her sons. She goes out there and watches a lot of other golf and is always, one of those rays of sunshine at the end of the round that says, hey, when you're ready, let's all go get cleaned up, and then, let's go catch dinner, or let's go, all hang out at this other place or whatever. And it's truly one of the highlights of usually going to Arizona, or sometimes being in other states, but going to Arizona. And I'll just say what I said earlier. When your mom knew that I was coming to the memorial a few weeks ago and was going to bring the largest crew that we've had for post, she very quickly volunteered up essentially her accommodations that she had locked in and said, hey, you and your crew are a better suit for this. I'll go find a different solution so that you guys can make the most out of what was presented in front of her. And of course, couldn't be more gracious and thankful, and just the amount of support and love, that her and the whole family have always, I think it spills out to a lot of people. I'm not special. I'm just one of the lucky people that has gotten, to be part of her generosity and the love that comes from your family. So, I don't want to call it irony, but the fact that she was helping with accommodations to then go home and eventually have struggles with her house just is terrible. So certainly make sure you guys spread the love and the support as much as you possibly can. I know you've already supported her, and I know your mom, as much as everyone's caring and loving, she also loves to stand on her own 2 feet. So I'm sure maybe there's even a little hesitation in accepting help, but I feel like we need to force our help upon them. Is that a fair way to put it?
Absolutely. I mean, especially, when you're established like them, and, who would want that? I know I wouldn't as well. And it's just such a tough situation to be in. Can't understand it because I've barely owned a home for 2 months or 3 months. But if this thing went up in smoke, I don't even know how I'd feel about it. So much less 30 years of family in it and all that stuff. But enough of the negative. You know what? She's safe and fine. I think it takes 3 minutes of smoke inhalation to legitimately die, and that didn't happen, and that could have very easily happened if she just closed her eyes and went to bed. So I I'm a type of glass, completely full type of guy, and so when she called me and I telling me that the house was burning down, my first thing was like, "You're not in there, are you?" Like, get away from there type thing. And so the fact that she was safe was my number one priority, first of all, and then obviously the house is gone, but my mom's everything's going to be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and as they say, and I know it feels sometimes a little hollow, but yeah, things can be replaced. And clearly, the fact that she and Sean probably was working at the time, so she and Sean are safe, and still have their health is the very first starting point,
Yep.
and we can all build off of that. So
Absolutely.
as Pete said, that's what we're going to see them start to get a plan together to have some living quarters and work from there. For you, what does moving forward here in 2022 look like? Is there any alterations to your plans in terms of where you're traveling, when you're traveling? Anything out of the ordinary for you?
No, I mean, like I said, Pro Tours majors, and that's what I got going on. I don't see that changing in the future, as long as I just get healthy. I'm number one priority. I feel good. The ankle is getting better. I just, when you're trying to compete at the top level, you got to be spot on. We're seeing new winners, new faces, people getting better every single weekend, tight fields. And when you're just not spot on, you're going to get lost in the field. And that's what's been happening to me, lately. And like, I've never even told anybody about my injury just because I'm not that guy. I really feel like I can be injured and beat most people. But this one's kind of got me shook. I've just been kind of all over the place, and I don't like blaming things on anything except for what is. And I've never played this bad in my life, so I have to take a step back and just quit being stubborn and be like, all right, be fine. You're a little injured, you'll heal, and I'll be right back where I was before.
So you just spoke of a moment ago, how stiff the competition has gotten, and specifically one individual, of course, Gannon, very much a conversation at LVC. He's going to continue to be a rising star. I think that's just a given for anyone to say. But then we've also seen another somewhat of an unscripted surprise in Luke Humphreys really coming into his own at the first two events of the year. What do you have to say about where Luke has transitioned from his previous role into now saying, hey, wait a minute, I can throw a disc too, and the whole world should see it?
No, I love it. One of the things I've noticed about Luke is the simplicity of his game is really brilliant. It's quite brilliant. It reminded me of myself back in the day of how I would pick apart courses, seemingly just kind of like backhand sidearm technician, make all your 25 footers, and we saw him do really well in Vegas, which it requires that when it gets windy, by the way. If you have both sides of the disc and locked down, you can pick apart courses, and the wind doesn't affect you as much. So that's one of the things that I saw, him being able to remain calm as well. Like, his style of play is just kind of stick to himself, do his own thing, and stay kind of in that zone. I mean, it's a style of going to keep him in contention, especially in bad weather situations, like we saw in the last two tournaments as far as Vegas and here. I mean, Vegas, the final round, he shot 13 under par with no wind. So it's not like it's just, I'm saying that he plays good in bad conditions, but the way that he's picking apart the courses is simplifying everything, and it's quite brilliant, really.
I think it's a fair question. Can he keep it up? Do you see him? Are you picking him in the top 5 or top 10 the rest of the year?
I mean, he said that these first 2 courses were 2 of his least favorite on tour, and now he's going into courses he actually likes.
When I look at, like, for example, Waco, I see a lot of backhand and then short hyzer sidearm approaches, which is his strong suit.
Okay.
And moving forward, you look at the tournaments are going to get longer. Um, I don't know what the Texas State Championships is going to look like, but as they get longer, those approaches are going to have to get longer as well. In Vegas isn't a long course. It really isn't. There's short par fours. There's a lot of chip shot sidearm birdies. So it's to be determined. I mean, my job as a commentator and an analyst as well is to say what I think. And so I think it's going to be tough for him to take that game and keep every single location on tour. What I fear is that the game will change. I think he'll have great finishes, top 10 finishes, if he sticks to what he's doing right now. And eventually a game like that and consistent play will net him a title. It's having the patience to just stick to what he's doing now through the duration of the season, which is really tough, especially when you have a weekend where maybe that style of play doesn't get you to where you want to be.
You're as knowledgeable about this as anyone. So what does it mean to try and play and then be doing post-production commentary? What does that look like, and what does that mean for everyone at home that may not understand the dynamic of what goes down and how that shapes and molds your weekend?
Oh man, it's crazy. Basically, like this last weekend, for example, I was teeing off very early. And so my commentary gig was getting done around, I was getting in bed and asleep around 2:33. And then I was teeing off at one point I teed off at 9:40 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I play well, then obviously I have to sleep, but it's a pretty crazy schedule. I mean, my week kind of goes travel day on Monday. I do practice round filming for Jomez on Tuesday. Um, Wednesday's my practice day, which luckily we're on a tour that provides one course for us to practice. So I get a little practice on Tuesday. I get practice on Wednesday, however much I need. And then I play sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But, with my situation now, I have to rest the body. So Thursday's a rest day. Then Friday we play, and then up till 3, and then back at it again the next day. So it's a pretty crazy schedule, honestly.
And for all the fans out there at home, do you anticipate being part of the Jomez commentary pretty much every event then this year? Is that, and how does that ever get changed up? Is there anything that people might be a little surprised by one way or another?
No, I've definitely given my word that I will be part of that commentary crew at every event that they will be at.
Just with your injury, you talked about not taking time off from the game, whether you need it or not. Do some of your sponsorships and obligations, does that weigh heavier on you? I mean, thinking that, oh, well, maybe I do need to take 3 or 4 weeks off. Maybe that would be better for my ankle, for my elbow, for whatever tendonitis I have. Or would you still tour and not play? Or do you feel like those obligations to sponsors and Jomez push you to play maybe when you shouldn't?
So I've been getting treatment while on tour. I've definitely been getting medical advice from professionals. It's not like I'm just doing this decision on my own and I'm playing on a broken ankle and they told me not to. I've gotten the green light to play. As far as the tendonitis, that takes time. There's a couple steps that I've been taking during the tournaments and stuff to where, I've been getting acupuncture and different things like that have really helped. I just needed like a week off, really. I have Texas State's. I'll play that tournament, and then I have 2 weeks to heal up, and I feel like that's going to be plenty of time for me to get going. I mean, if Texas State was back to back to back again, I would probably skip the event, yes. But because I get this week of rest, I haven't had a week of rest in 2 months. I flew from here to run a tournament in Idaho. I played that weekend, and then I was at the All-Star event. I played that whole week. Then I went to Vegas, then Memorial, and then Waco. So my month has been insane. I get the week off, and then I'm hoping to. I got a treatment today. I felt great right afterwards. It's and then Texas State. So after that, I'm definitely going to take that 2 weeks and make sure that I'm ready for the Champions Cup, because that's the big one, the more important one. You know how I am. I don't want to say I don't care about these other tournaments, because I do, but my eyes are on the majors, and that's really it at this point in my career. I've checked off all the goals that I could ever imagine, as far as my career going. Winning a major is the last one that I need to check off. So that's where my focus will be. And I'll make damn sure I'm healthy and ready to go at that one.
Yeah, and to follow that up specifically, there was a lot of conversation about the major originally, and then, how they announced what the format was going to be. But then feedback or otherwise, it was ultimately changed up. And if I recall, or if I maybe remember seeing some commercials or something, you were there, you were involved in some of those continued conversations, weren't you? Spill the tea, I think, as the kids say. What are some of those details, and what were those conversations like?
Yeah, so it was a lot of conversations with players. It was conversations with the PDGA, with different people. I mean, tournament directors, all that stuff. And I'm not going to go into detail because stir any sort of pot or whatever. But basically, we all came together and we decided that stroke play was the best way to play major championships. And I think that when they first dropped the news that it wasn't going to be that, they started losing quality players to play that tournament. And I think ultimately we can't have that right now in disc golf, and we need the best players playing at the major championships. And I think that was the ultimate decision that was the correct one.
And just to be clear, that is a straight up 4-round stroke play tournament, all 4 rounds W.R. Jackson. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what
That's
in
right.
your eyes makes that, I guess I'll follow it up and then say, well, what makes that a major versus any other event that's taking place?
As far as
Anything. Like, I mean, we've had tournaments at the IDGC. It's a great course, obviously. There's a lot of great courses there. But how do you feel like it's special or unique in any capacity?
the IDGC, as far as a major, well, there was redesign for sure. There's some redesigns going on there to where they made the course better. The maintenance crews out there, even when I was there, and this was months and months ago, doing work on all kinds of things, cutting down limbs, making sure it was spectacular. They're also adding countless spectator areas for people to go finally and be able to go into the woods and watch without, being distracted or being a distraction. I mean, I really feel like, what better place than the IDGC? I mean, that's like where everything is happening for the most part, as far as if you're going to call it a PDGA major championship. That's the International Disc Golf Center. And we had one back in the day, but that, the disc golf wasn't as popular back then. Now we have, thousands of people who want to spectate. You need camera crews, you need all that stuff. And I think they're taking big time steps to make sure that all of those accommodations are going to be met in tenfold. Everybody's going to be comfortable. They're making the courses better, more fair. I mean, we did walkthroughs after walkthroughs to make sure, we would get to a hole and they'd ask me about a tree, and I would say, no, that's a horrible tree. And then there was a certain instance, I won't say the hole, but they were like, what? We kind of like that there. And I'm like, no, it's not a fair tree. And they're like, well, why? And so I grabbed a disc, threw it down the fairway, hit the tree. And they're like, that shot was perfect. And I'm like, I know that tree shouldn't be there. And then they go, well, we're not taking it out. And then I go, well, what if I hit it again? And this is like way down the fairway. And they go, if you hit it again, then we'll agree that it's a bad tree. Sure enough, threw it right out of my hand, hit that tree. I'm going to tell you this, if that tree's still there, when I get to that major this year, no, I'm just kidding. But
you're gonna pull
they were very open. They were very open to the opinion of the player, and being the chair of the players committee, that's why, I was out there. They wanted to make sure that, everything's done right. And that's probably one of the first times that that's been done, to where they're asking, players what we need, what we want.
Well, I'm certainly excited. Of course, going to be covered on the Disc Golf Network, and 4 rounds at it. W. Jackson, gives you guys time to make up for mistakes, but it's going to be 4 long days, and hopefully some really good golf when it's all said and done. Yeah, I got to walk it probably twice if we're going to have FPO in the morning, MPO in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, twice a day.
Yeesh. All right. So in the regular or earlier in the show, I alluded to some exciting things that are coming along. You're jumping on the bandwagon of being all philanthropic and being a nice guy and doing neat stuff. You're jumping on that bandwagon. And sure enough, we got a Ulibarri Leadership Institute. Break it down. Tell us what that means to the world. How do people get involved? Yeah, and what it means to you and how it came about.
Oh, so we're talking about the Ulibarri Leadership Foundation.
Oh, okay.
Which is a foundation. Yeah, it's the institute is just a website where I give my lessons.
Okay.
In the off-season.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
The Leadership Foundation is something that I worked this whole off season off with my lawyer to come up with a foundation to where I'm going to be trying to get scholarship money for not only the collegiate program, but other scholarships, to where any disc golfer who is in college can do applications, send in applications to try to get funding for school.
Okay. So
and that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I think of that as, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but I very much liken that to a grant in a lot of ways, in that you're applying for something very specific to a very, with one piece of unified framework is what I'm trying to spit out. And so people can apply to this. What are some of the things that you guys will be looking at and taking into consideration? And then do you know roughly how many potential recipients a year there could be? How does some of those details work?
Right now I'm faced with coming up with a structure of leadership for the foundation to make sure that, we check all those boxes. Right now, the only thing that I have, and I know this for certain, is that we'll be donating all of the money that I made during this off season giving lessons, which is right around $8,000. And we'll be giving that to both the men's collegiate winner in the singles division and to the FPO winner of the collegiate program this year. And so I'll be making a trip over there in my time off to kind of, get that going. So, this idea came from when I was a kid. I had a scholarship to play at ASU. I turned it down to play disc golf. And I've always wondered, maybe I should have stayed in school, especially when you got a busted ankle and you're taking last place every weekend.
You said it, not us.
And if
Hey,
somebody
facts are
out there,
facts.
is faced with a similar decision, I see it. Yeah, you see all these kids out here playing. There's not one time I've even heard any of the media ask if they're in school or what they're doing. And that kind of bugs me at just because I was one of those kids, and I didn't have anything. There was no prospect of going to school to play disc golf. And so if I can provide some sort of help or incentive for these kids to, be like, wow, I can actually go to college. And I mean, my dream is to someday provide a kid with full funding for their whole school for 4 years or 6 years or however many years they want to go do that, as long as they make the qualifications, whatever those are, which we will come up with, a fair program to where you can apply. But I mean, those are where my goals at. And I feel like when I set goals, I usually, come pretty close to reaching those. So, this can be really big. The collegiate programs in any other sport are huge. We're watching the NCAA March Madness right now. All those kids are in school, and all of those kids are on full rides. I guarantee that, for the most part. And we don't have any of that in disc golf. And I feel like those are the steps that we need to take to, push the sport forward, is to get collegiate athletes, because what's the let's say a great athlete like Kayla Visca's in school, what's he going to choose, basketball or disc golf? And we're losing out on these athletes. But if we can somehow, start this, have something for it, I feel like other schools will follow, and that will start falling into place to where maybe a will or a school on their own will give a kid a full ride. And then we have big collegiate programs. So it starts somewhere, and hopefully this is a small stepping stone in that direction. That's my.
I feel like as the sport continues to grow and become more successful and more money is getting thrown into it, playing disc golf professionally today means you could be winning anywhere from $20 to $50 to $100,000, depending on who you are and how well you're playing. 10 years ago, our best professionals weren't scraping together, $29,000, and they were probably covering most of their own expenses at the time. So we've definitely grown, we'll say, in the last decade. So my question, though, to you is, when you look at a Gannon Buhr specifically, he's 16. He already has admitted that he thinks high school's getting in his way, and it's kind of annoying, I think, is his phrase. He just lives and breathes disc golf, and he loves it, and he's passionate about it, and clearly he's talented at it. Are we faced like every other sport? Are we faced with that decision of, well, but I could go play disc golf. College will always be there. I want to play disc golf. I'm one of the best players in the world at the age of 18 or 19 or 20, and I want to ride that tour life. Do you have any words of advice? Do you feel like you're going to sway anyone one way or another?
No, I think I feel like that's up to his parents and him to make that decision. Of course, I mean, I made the decision, and I just left and went for it. It worked out for me, but like I said, not everybody's like me. Not everybody's like Gannon. A lot of people, we would see a lot more of Anthony Barella if he didn't have those goals to go get an education and go to ASU. And that kid's one of the more talented people in our sport. And he's doing it, while being in school. So it's possible to do that. And so I feel like it's up to the person, but just to say that we're using Gannon Buhr as a reference. I mean, there's a bunch more kids, I guarantee, playing in college right now who wish they could do chasing an edge. So why can't disc golf help with that as well? Not only a career path, but get them, an education.
No, I'm with you, because there will always be outliers like a Gannon Buhr that maybe college isn't the right solution. Even if they're and I don't know Gannon other than outside of disc golf, but when you say, is college the right decision? Maybe it's not the right decision for Gannon, regardless of how smart he is. Disc golf is going to be the better career move, but there will always be people like you or I, Terry, that, maybe we could have gotten a disc golf scholarship and we weren't probably going to go on tour, even in today's age. You know, a 960, a 970 rated player isn't right for the tour, but they might be right for a collegiate scholarship, a collegiate path, and maybe they can work on getting to the point where they get to a tour ready player, just like in all these other major sports we see where, you know, we know that there are some basketball players that are in it for a year. They're a year and out. That's it. They don't really want to be there. You know, they're kind of forced into it, just like, you know, some football players, and they don't care about the school. But there are a lot of athletes that go to school and use football as a stepping stone to get a education that will never make the NFL.
Yeah,
and I think disc golf's the same way.
Exactly. No, you're 100% hitting it on the head. I mean, not everybody's going to be a success story. You know, I realize now that I'm a lucky one. You know, I dropped everything and did it, and I had a great opportunity on one hand, and I took, you know, disc golf, and it ended up working out really well for me. But not, like I said, not everybody's like me. Not everybody's like Gannon, and there are kids out there that maybe that through that they can become that player, you know. But maybe through disc golf, you know, just going out there, maybe that's too much. In the beginning stages of something really great, I really believe that with disc golf in general. And to not explore different avenues of growing it would be a travesty. And that's my goal is I want to see kids come out of college. I want to put kids through college if we possibly can with this foundation. And if we can, that's going to bring more spotlight, you know, on the collegiate level. I mean, that can't not help the sport.
I'm going to force my kid to just putt in the backyard to get to college, to get the Uli College scholarship.
Yep, make him sign up for it. Like, I don't know who that is. I don't care, kid. You throw frisbees, get his money.
That's not the Paul you always talk about. Shut up, kid.
Yeah, he's giving out free money.
Yeah, don't say that out loud.
What is it? Because at some point you're going to be looking.
Why is that so true? Why do I feel like you said that before, Johnny?
That's not how, Daddy. That's not how you spell Macbeth. U-L-I-B. So at some point you're going to be, especially when you're just getting started, you're going to be looking at some of these applications, some of these submissions that are coming in. Right off the top of your head, what are some of the things that will appeal to you the most that you're going to be looking for when people are applying for these?
You know, it's a great question because I don't know. I have to do a lot of research on other grants, other scholarships, and what that entails and how they qualify for those. I'm in an area that I have the idea. I've launched it. It has money in there. I'm giving it away.
Okay.
And as far as the applications go, that's going to be a process that I have to take in this off season to make sure that I dot all my I's and cross all my T's, because I want to make sure that whoever's getting it, one, deserves it, but also qualifies in the ways that, you know, I guess the community really, it would benefit them the most. And I don't know what that looks like because I don't know how other grants work. That's something I have to educate myself on, which is something I look forward to educating myself on. But once that's done, you know, I'm also going to have other people in my corner to help me kind of have that vision and keep me locked in. Like I said, I didn't go to school, so I gotta have the brains around me to be able to keep me focused and make sure that I don't make a mistake as far as any of that stuff goes. So I can't answer those questions now, but I do know it's happening, and kids are going to get some money to go to college.
And I'll follow that up
That's
with you getting a little bit of help and guidance and assistance. I've been following along on the TikToks. A little lawyer who I believe you've been interacting with and who's been helping you out. Describe who that is, what that means, what you've been working on, and how everyone else could get up to speed.
Yeah, Chris Clark. That's discgolf.law, and he is the man. I mean, he's helped me in so many different ways with all kinds of things. He's been the brains of this whole thing. He did all the documentation for, the foundation. He's also their documentation for different things. He's gotten patents for me. He's gotten just whenever I have a smarts question, he's who I call, and he's there to answer. He's just been great. I mean, if you have any sort of questions with anything to do with law, I mean, they are the people to go to. They're phenomenal. I mean, so generous with their time, great rates. That's my plug.
That's right. Drop the name Uli for a 5% discount.
It's important to have the right people in your corner. I've never been the smartest person in the room, but I've always tried to make sure that I have those people in my corner to help me. And this is, Chris is that person, and I'm super excited that I got to partner up with him on this project. He's going to be on the board of the foundation. So I have, professional help, and I make sure I don't break any laws. I don't know if you can break any laws by giving away money, but
yeah, you can. I've learned.
Well, I won't be doing that because he's going to be helping me with all of that stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's about all I could say about that. I mean, he's just amazing. And if you don't have a lawyer and you're a disc golfer out there, you need to get one. Money's too important nowadays, especially with contracts. I mean, we see people breaking their contracts, it seems like every year in disc golf, and people don't know why. You got to have that, if you're going to get that bag, you need to make sure that it's yours, and you're obligated to whatever the track says, and make sure that you hold to that. And the only way to know for certain is if you have a lawyer on your side.
Make it ironclad.
Yeah, which has been really interesting because our sport continues to grow up. It continues to mature, and we're seeing real money. I mean, real money come along, and we're seeing these relationships and these contracts and negotiations all become more and more serious. And it's evolved from handshakes and to then, finally something written, sometimes for a year, to now multi-year with multi-million dollars all involved. And so clearly you want to make sure as you said, your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed.
That's why I'm glad all the Smashbox paperwork has my name on it. So.
Yes. And honestly, I think I think for a long time, our sport has somewhat even purposely avoided lawyers because it almost felt maybe too stuffy or too formal. But now I think the money is just too big to ignore, that we need the professional, legalese that's there that goes along with all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I explain it like this to other kids who ask me why it's important is it's a language you don't know. And if you don't know that language, that's on you if you get a bad deal. Mm-hmm. And they are up for hire. Translators are up for hire.
Yeah.
And if you want to risk it, then that's on you. But there's a reason that lawyers make a lot of money, because that's hard, and you have to go to school, which you can do under the Uliberry Foundation.
Right.
But it's more important than people think, and all jokes aside, I highly recommend it. And if you don't do it, I think you're foolish. I really do.
So a couple of your partnerships, let's talk about those briefly. Of course, you're continuing to do your work with Jomez. We'll see plenty of that as the year goes on. But then this weekend, I feel like we saw the new commercial debut. You're working even more closely with Zuka. Also see you continuing to do your work with Bushnell. Ledgestone, I know, also a significant partner and supporter and sponsor of yours. Anything else in the works that's that the world should know about?
No, I mean I have pastry dyes. They
Mm-hmm.
were with you at a memorial, and
Yep.
they've been a nice partner. But no, I'm constantly looking, and have my eyes open. But I just signed the 5-year deal with Discraft, which was huge. Um, that's gonna take me into almost into my 40s, so got them.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
Um,
two knees
They
and a
didn't.
hip away for you.
Yeah, they didn't want to renegotiate after this weekend, right? You're like, whoo, whoo, got that done before Waco.
exactly, exactly, man. And no, that's awesome. I'm working on a long-term deal with Ledgestone as well. And I feel really great about the people I've teamed up with. I mean, I can't think of uh, better partners, honestly. Like I am super happy with who's on my team and who I've partnered up with, and they've I feel like they're at the top of the sport in all kinds of different categories. So I feel privileged, honored, blessed that I made the right moves when I did, and that's gotten me to where I am. I mean, I got my own little what do you
Neon
You've got your neon light.
backlight, yeah, neon backlight.
Yeah.
I
neon
mean,
I got my own neon sign, dude.
yeah.
Doesn't get any, doesn't get any better.
I know. Look at us schmucks. 7 years
neon
later,
sign.
we're still dealing with a cloth backdrop that doesn't even light up. I mean,
I've thought
You're
about
not supposed to tell them that it's a cloth
oh,
backdrop.
dang it. Yeah, that's.
I can't even reach it.
I mean, we're so broke. Sometimes I got to take that down and I have to curl up in it next to the fireplace just to keep warm because I can't even.
Oh,
It doubles up as a blankie.
I was looking at the chat. I saw all those donations.
That's true. That's true. Our gracious $30 that has come in tonight. We appreciate that, and we sincerely do actually, because someday our backdrop will light up.
Millions and millions.
Maybe.
No, we can't afford those 6-digit numbers like Mr. Jomez. Come on.
Yeah, jeez.
Jeez. So, I mean, I guess talking about that real quick, do you feel like you have? I mean, do you have a contract with them? Is it a year long? Is it just an agreement? Or 2 years? If they sign a 2-year agreement, are you going to be with them for 2 years?
I did. I signed a 2-year. I believe it's a 2-year agreement with them.
Awesome. That's great.
And
Was
how
it awkward when Jerm only got the 1-year agreement?
he's week by week?
It was a little weird. We didn't. Hopefully, he's not watching. So.
He's not.
If we know he's not.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't covered? I mean, we're looking forward to a huge 2022 here, but I feel like with all the stuff you have going on, and the fact that we're going to see you week in and week out, yeah.
How does Macbeth keep winning?
Oh.
No, seriously,
Ouch.
you're the team captain.
Ouch.
He just.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen so many players, and the competition is so tight, but that guy just keeps outperforming everybody. What is he doing?
It's something you just can't teach. In sports, period. Like you look at Tom Brady or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or whatever, and some people just have special sauce, and he's one of those guys that he's always had it. He refined it and he stuck to it, and that game improves, but he refines his skill so well that he does the same thing every week, and you expect the same thing. And when there's people that say that he's been putting bad, which I believe he has been, and he's still winning. So imagine if he could get the Circle 2 back up to like 2015, where it seemed like his putter never hit the ground one time. The scary thing is he could still get better. And that's what drives him and drives people like him. Not only is he insanely talented and really good at disc golf, but he wants to get better. and he has the knowledge of winning, which a lot of people, every single person in the division, does not have that much knowledge of the most important thing, which is how to close a tournament. And he has that with experience. So when you ask why he keeps winning, he's the best at it because he has the most experience at it. And I feel like that's the special sauce, is he knows how to close it down to where, we didn't see Dickerson is obviously a great champion. He's one of the best players in the world, but after a few holes, he was up by like 5 or 6, 4 strokes over Dickerson. Who was there on that card really pushing him that final round? Nobody. I mean, Luke went bogey or double bogey to start. He was already long gone. And he obviously made a comeback and got second place. But that's the thing that I see Macbeth do more than anything, is he knows how to win. He's patient. He knows when to attack, when not to attack, because he's been in those situations so many times over and over and over, to where I might get into that situation and make the wrong decision just because they've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they're bad, just because they thought, no, I need to push right now because he's never going to miss. Paul has already seen it happen time and time again, so easier to make those correct decisions in that moment. And I think that gets overlooked in his game, is that he's smarter than everybody on the course. I really believe that.
And I think a lot of people that are familiar with him would say that was a lot of the similar characteristics that you found out of Climo. Like, just mentally could outplay a lot of competitors. And yes, it was self-perpetuating that he'd win, and then he'd have more confidence in going into the next scenario and the next win. But Ken Climo was always thinking, 4 steps ahead of everybody else, and when he's on the fairway of 13, he's also taking note of the wind that's on the fairway of 18 that's, a fairway over, and was always just thinking ahead a few steps of everyone else, taking everything into consideration. And it seems as if, Paul has a lot of those similar traits. Some people are in the moment of that shot and literally nothing else. And some people are able to think about that and execute, but then also have another level of mind power that they're concerning themselves with.
And I think a lot of it is also just, he doesn't, we've seen players like Gannon Burr at LVC who towards the end, you could tell he was getting tight. Macbeth doesn't do that, because I know it sounds silly and he wants to win every event, but those Elite Series events, it's win or nothing. So he doesn't get, I don't feel like he gets very nervous. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm going to win this. Oh, guess what? I guess I'm not going to win this, but I'm going to try my damnedest to get there. He doesn't get tight anymore at these regular events. And I can't necessarily say the same thing for majors. I don't know the scenario, but for these regular Elite Series events, I feel like he has such an advantage over almost every other player out on that course, in that, maybe just him and Ricky that are just like, yeah, I can stay relaxed down the stretch, because if I win, it's just another notch. If I don't, there'll be another one. I'll be in the same position in 2 weeks, guys.
It's crazy, because when those two bat, and that's a great point, Johnny, is when Paul's battling other players. For example, if you watch the Jomez footage, Luke said out loud, like, it's going to take me forgetting that Paul, Cale, and Dickerson are on my card. Mm-hmm. Because that's a real piece of the puzzle, is when you're playing with those guys, they're better than you. And that's because of their finishes. And you have to forget that and play each hole for what it is. You can't play the competitors, And when you watch Paul just completely kind of manhandle that card, and it was just over, I felt like it was over as soon as he made that first putt. I was like, okay, Paul's doing his thing, and this is over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was a big situation there. If he misses that, Luke bogeys, the other guy's kind of bogey and par, everybody's struggling right away. But he doesn't. He just makes that, and then he birdies, after what was it? He birdied 7 straight after the third hole. Mm. you don't see that type of, I don't know, nerves with Paul because Ricky wasn't on the card. The only time I've ever seen Ricky, well, not Ricky, but Paul and Ricky get nervous is when they're battling each other. You see them kind of down the stretch, and you can kind of see a little nerves from both of them. But other than that, everybody knows that Paul's the best. Everybody knows that Ricky's the best. It's a given. And if you think that those players are going in there like, no, I'm the best. Maybe I forgot about Eagle because he didn't play Waco. So pardon me, but I feel like those three right there, they kind of can bring the nerves out of each other with good play.
Sure.
So the board is kind of second guessing or questioning how Luke went after hole 18 on the final round. He was down 2 and stepped up to the tee on 18. He went before Paul, which I think was crucial in this scenario. He goes before Paul, but he doesn't go to clear the water. He doesn't go for the pin. So to ask the question from the board, do you agree with that? Do you like that play? What do you make of it?
100%, because here's the thing. If you watch the round before, you see Luke go for it over the water, and it was a tailwind, and he cleared it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
He almost throws it out of bounds right, but he wasn't even pin high with its crazy tailwind and a full flex all the way over there. He didn't even make it to the OB with a bad shot, because it was a bad shot. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he turned it way over, and he was only like a couple inches in bounds, clearing the water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the final day, we had a 20-mile-an-hour headwind. Not a tailwind, a headwind. I don't think Luke can make it there. Maybe with a perfect shot on the perfect day, he might be able to clear and give himself a 50-footer. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Laying up gives him a sure shot at having a chance to throw it in. And if you watch the interview with Jomez, he said that a few years back he two'd the last hole with a throw-in with his A3 to make cash. So he had a good memory already
Mm-hmm.
of throwing it in. And he made a pretty good run, I feel like. And you never know. Macbeth can mess up his upshot or the next one or the one after that. I just don't think him going for it would give him any sort of advantage. I think he would have just chucked it in the water or went way short on the right side, barely made it safe. And then
that gains nothing.
I don't think that Luke, yeah, I know this because Luke throws it a little bit farther than me from what I've seen this year. And there's no way I could make it that day. I didn't even go for it. I was in 100th place. I was like, I don't want to lose my disc. I had every reason to go for it. You know what I mean? But it was, just wasn't possible.
Mm-hmm. No,
everybody on my card who went for it went directly into the drink.
Yeah, I think I had heard there was one person, basically, it was Kevin Jones, was the only one that made it across the water that day, in like, I think the late afternoon or something. Just the wind just wasn't.
There you go.
Just wasn't available, and we all know. I'm sure more players probably could have had they really pressed, because Kevin's not the furthest. Kevin throws far. He's not. There are other players that throw as far as Kevin, but just that feels like a desperation play. Than anything else. So.
Yeah, I think he has a better shot to it from laying up.
Yeah, throwing in 180,
great decision by
180 to a 200-foot shot, whatever that is, from that side of from the left side of the water to the basket, is going to be probably higher percentage than you getting the 2 from the tee pad in those conditions.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Jones went on to be literally the only competitor in the field to get the birdie. It said from 16 feet, so somewhere in the middle of circle 1. But the only competitor out of all 100 and how many were there, Uli? 100 and some.
Ouch! Was that a subtle? Was that a? Hey, Uli, how many players were there?
No,
Did you count how many were below you?
No,
that hurts,
no.
Terry. That hurts.
Not at all.
I beat a couple guys.
Yeah, no, you had a great.
You
second
did. There were
round.
some DNFs, and then Hey, I was gonna say top 100, but I couldn't give you that compliment even.
No, you had you shot like an 8 down that second round?
102nd. Come on, don't sell yourself short.
5.
102nd, I got you at on UDisc
5.
here.
Yeah. Oh, I moved up from when I looked. That's awesome.
There you go.
Anyway, that's all forgotten about you. Like you said, you're human. And I think an event and a course like this further humanizes you. I mean, we know that you can be in contention for a win, and then you can go out and it's possible to have an off weekend. It's possible to let the course beat you up. It proves how tough the course is. It proves how tough the competition is.
And I know how good I'm going to play. In no way did I ever think I would ever play good. Like, I know that about myself. I went into Vegas and I told my agent, I said, man, I'd be lucky to cash this weekend with how I was playing. Like, I knew that, and I cashed. And I was really happy with it. I didn't play great, but I was able to get some birdies and cash. I wasn't going in there thinking I would win the tournament. This weekend, same thing. I didn't see that coming, but in no way am I physically or mentally ready to be in contention at a big tournament. That's not, something that's something that I'm going to have to build on through the year, is get to that level. Do I think I can get there? Yeah, 1,000,000,000% I do. But it's a process that I know. This is my 18th season playing disc golf. It's my 16th year on tour. I've had struggles. I know the process, and my process has deemed to be pretty good.
How difficult is it to be in the top 32 at this year's Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships? How much of a goal is that? Is that for someone like you in your 16th year? Is that just a given that, well, by the time that rolls around, you'll for sure be in that top 32? Or is that a new goal that players are actually concerning themselves with?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, getting into the top 32 for the championship, I think that's what you're referencing, is going to be very, very tough, because there's so many people doing it. I mean, just for example, my play, I looked at some stats. My play at a tournament last year, I think I looked up 3 tournaments just to compare. We played the same courses, and then I looked at like a 2012 or 2010 tournament. My score was 5 strokes better from then, and my placing was 25 places worse. National tour to national tour. So I got 5 strokes better, but I got 30th. And at that national tour, I took top 5, I think. And of course, the weather probably wasn't the same, or blah, 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 blah. But that shows you, people are good, really good, this last weekend, there was a lot of notable names that missed cash. In Vegas, Cale's streak of 1 billion tournaments ended. Mm-hmm. And right behind him, who had to birdie the last 4 holes to keep his cashing streak?
Nate Sexton.
Yeah.
It's a real thing that it's going to become more and more normal for people to miss cash and have bad showings, only because before, the level of the touring player was so much higher than the Joe Schmo. That's not the case anymore. Gannon's 16 years old, whooping up on everybody. 16.
Yeah, it's really we're seeing
a different game.
It is, and we're seeing the competition rise. We're seeing the seriousness in which it's being taken. We're seeing the money rise. We're seeing the implications with sponsors. We're seeing all of those things continue to increase and elevate. So maybe that all leads to the next question, which is, what's next for our sport? What's the next big thing that we should be either looking for or concerned about as we're seeing all this growth and all this professionalism increase? What do you feel like, okay, here is the next step? What is that thing or accomplishment or goal? What's that thing?
I think it's going to be Yeah, I think it's going to be a big sponsor coming up and boosting up one of these tournaments like a
Okay.
crazy purse. I feel like that's coming and coming faster than we think. I don't know when or if it's in the next couple years or 3 years, but I think in that time there's going to be a tournament where we play for over $100,000 and top 10 gets 20 grand or something. I don't feel like that's very far off because to the big corporate industry that's not a lot of money for advertisement. It really isn't when you look at TV and how much commercials are to just show whatever at like a Super Bowl. Like it that's pennies. That's pennies to the real entertainment world. And I think that's closer than people might think. I would hope so. Only because, we're seeing $1 million contracts with just the players with their endorsements. There's more money to be made for a company to come in, put a lot of money into a tournament, and then be the sole advertiser of that tournament, whatever that is.
I know. I wonder if we're going to see because we saw that the Pro Tour finale had 2 or 3 big name sponsors. You had Johnsonville and Guaranteed Rate, and there was one more. Was LL Bean? I think LL Bean was a sponsor as well. I wonder if we're going to see what you say. Someone step up and sponsor the finale, sponsor an individual event, or sponsor the tour. That's my next question, because I think you're right. I think we're going to see a big sponsor step in. I just don't know which avenue they're going to take. If they see more value in like pumping up one particular event, like, hey, this is going to be the Texas States barbecue open, and we're going to have we're going to drop $150,000 into this event this year, or if we're going to see somebody take $200,000 to $300,000 and give it to the tour and say, here's $20,000 for each event. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't either, but I have a feeling that it's coming.
I feel like the Uli Foundation is right. Okay, someday.
Yeah, you guys want me to drop a donation?
You could.
No.
All right,
put
Uli.
kids through school.
Maybe
Put
I'll
kids
put
through
it
school.
up for the collegiate program.
There you go. There you go. So let's, as we start to wrap up, give us a few details about A, how can people support the Uli Foundation? B, how can people follow and support you personally?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram, @1Uli, and follow me there. I'm also on Facebook. You can send me a message through there. I think Facebook has a max of however many people that you can be friends with, but Instagram's the best way to do that. You can go to my YouTube channel, subscribe there. I put out probably around 2 videos a month right now on average. I'm going to try to boost that up, but that's tough with the schedule. So you can go there and watch some nice content. The foundation, I'm going to be posting all kinds of details on how exactly you can donate and all those things in the next week. So look on my socials. Definitely follow me for those. I'll be posting that through all social media plugs that I have, along with my partners in Discraft, Ledgestone, and Bushnell, Zuka. They'll all be sharing those details as well. So all to come in the near future, and I am going to get some much needed rest, and I'll see you guys on the live feed at Texas States.
Yeah, most certainly.
You certainly will. We appreciate you for joining us. Thank you, buddy. We've got
round 3, right?
I put in your I put your Instagram out there. Also,
I'll probably
people
get voted in.
I put your Instagram out there. Also, I put another link to the GoFundMe so people can go and show some support and love for your mom and your family. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Thanks for all the insight about the foundation, and you just keep doing your work, and everybody will just keep tuning in to watch, listen, subscribe. They'll do all those things. You keep doing what you're doing, though. We appreciate it, buddy. You're always welcome here.
Always welcome,
Thank
Uli.
you. Thank you so much for having me on. I missed you guys, and thanks for having my brother on. Thank you for taking the time to hear the story about my mom and what she's going through, and to, offer a hand and help. It means the world to us. It really does, especially to me, and I'll always be grateful for that. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and I'll see you in Texas.
All right. Take care,
Sounds
buddy.
great,
Have a good
Uli.
night. Thanks.
Good night.
See ya. All right. Paul Ulibarri, and as I said, if you're following along, even if you're listening to it on the audio version, you should be able to go out and find it. It says, "Help Sean and Patty, Mama Uli, recover from fire." It's out there.
I think if you use Google GoFundMe and Uli, you should be able to find it.
Exactly. So, and we continue to see some donations jump in. Also, Chris Cobb. I know Chris has been going through some stuff with his family. He's a big smashy and all-around amazing guy. I was going to say an Arizonan. But anyway, I know Chris is working through some stuff as well, and big hug and love out to you, Chris. We hope you're well, my friend. And yeah, just big hug is what I can say there. So please go out and find Yuli's mother's GoFundMe out there. And if you want to contribute, we'd appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back to you with the after show. That means a giveaway, of course, through our Patreon subscribers.
I think it's a disc member box today.
Oh, yeah, disc member box. Thanks. We'll give that away and talk about anything that is other things that are disc golf or non-disc golf related. We'll jump into a quick after show and have that action for you. For Paul and Pete Ulibarri, along with Johnny V and myself, I'm Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, and our champion guest in Valerie Mandujano. Thank you so much for joining us in the regular show. This has been podcast 394. Don't go anywhere if you're watching live. We'll be right back with the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 394's After Show. Do you think those ever sound good?
I think people enjoy them. Do they sound good? I don't necessarily think we are the Philharmonic or a choir. I don't think Philharmonic's a choir. I think it's an orchestra, which we're not that either. So I don't believe we are. Neither you or I
not
were
music to their ears.
You or I were in the Appleton Boys Choir, which was actually a relatively prominent young men's choir in the Midwest.
Ooh, unfortunately, I didn't know about it, so
really?
Couldn't have been that good.
I
mean, if they didn't have me and I didn't know about it, that's two strikes.
Yeah, the Appleton Boys Choir is a relatively prominent choir in the Midwest, and where we grew up, and neither you nor I were in it. I
must have missed my invite.
So yes, I'm sure you did. We have friends who are still in Appleton whose kids are in the boy choir. Yes.
When am I no
Samron
longer a
says
boy? Can I go back?
His daughter loves the after show intro.
I'm just saying. Am I too old for this said choir?
I'm sure you are. I bet you it is probably. I don't know the direct ages, but my guess is, once you get into
43 's too old.
Mid-teens, they probably.
Hey boys, I'd like to join this choir. I don't have a good singing voice, but I'd like to join.
Not creepy at all.
That's right. That's the line I like to hover on. Not creepy at all.
At all.
Good. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is the after show. If it's not apparent, sometimes we talk disc golf related topics. Sometimes we don't. A little bit of everything in between. Largely, you're here because, well, you want to hear if your name gets called for the giveaway on Patreon every single week. We have a Patreon giveaway. If you support us at any level via the Patreon platform, that instantly makes you eligible. So we have that. But then also, we love to field questions or comments or conversation pieces that come in from our chat, whether that's through the Facebook mechanism or even easier through the YouTube version. So if you've got something for us, please bring it up here and we could break it down or give you a line of BS. Or both.
SO Guitarist asks, do we know how much was raised in that hour that was being matched for Paul's mom? No, I didn't look at the beginning number. I don't have it open right now in front of me. Unfortunately, I don't have an idea of how much was Matt.
I don't. I know it's gone up a couple $100 is what I am seeing. I don't know.
I thought it was close to 2,100 when we had talked about it, and now it's at 2,800. And it's, it is relatively...
And clearly some of this may be related to us and our listeners, and some are just absolutely other people that are seeing the link and details from other places.
Well,
but
we're going to take credit for all of it,
yes,
Terry.
I see. I'm going to call them out. A couple of the guys that I know for sure are related to... that are incredible smashies of ours, like Tim Courts, Dan Harbeck, Ryan Pilcher, all guys that I know are for sure related to us watching, or they're watching us.
Anonymous, that's definitely
Anonymous is one of my good friends.
Chris Cobb.
All of the anonymous people that are listed on there. But no, seriously, thank you to anyone, whether you came from our show or otherwise. We don't. The point is that we're seeing support head over there to Paul and Pete's mother and stepfather. So good to see. Thank you guys for that. All right, let's take a look at what else is going out there on the boards. Dan, thank you.
Thank you.
We
Dan,
appreciate the super chat here. A few of you have jumped in to super chat to our podcast as well. Thank you. Has there anybody? Randy Black asked the question. Has there ever been any talk about replacing the Belton with Parc de Family outside of New Orleans? NOLA early in the season would be a great atmosphere, especially incorporating a decent-sized metro market. If there has been, Randy, I'll just say we wouldn't probably know. Johnny and I, that is, probably wouldn't know. I don't know. I personally have not heard of that park or facility or course. It, first of all, would certainly have to be championship caliber, which it very well may be. I'm just not familiar with it. So that would be the first step. And then the second step would be there would need to be a club and or organization there that's willing and wanting to run a Silver Series event. And then they would have to submit their request and application, so to speak, to do it. So, and I know we say it a lot, but a good course alone or even a good club alone aren't necessarily enough ingredients. You need a good course and a good club and the willingness to jump onto a tour in any capacity, run a major, run a whatever. All of those things would need to unfold and be part of it. So I don't know. Short answer is I don't know.
Any special plans for show number 400?
Ooh, that's a great question.
The answer is no. We have no special.
Says you.
We have no special plans.
I plan to kick you off.
That's awesome.
Just kidding. So let's do some math. What is this? 394. So 95, 96, 97 would be on April 5th. Oh, I don't like this I don't like how the old calendar system works on Microsoft or Windows 11. What did I just say? Let's do that again. So 94, 95 is on the 20, would be next week. 96, 97, 98, 99, 400 would be on April 26th, which would be the couple of days leading into none other than the Dynamic Disc Open. That would be the day before. Did they push that to... I don't know what day that even starts anymore.
I think it starts on Wednesday still.
Wednesday? Is it 4 days still? 3 days?
I think it's 4 days.
4 days sounds like a lot. Should be 3. Did I say that out loud? Because it should be 3.
Yeah, we've said that a lot. But all the Elite Series should be 3. But yet there's a small push on the internet for all Elite Series to be 4.
Yeah, well, that's silly.
People are saying,
in my opinion.
Drew Gibson was, quote unquote, the perfect example for LVC because he shot so poorly day one. It gave him a chance to get back into it.
Or I don't give a shit and you shoot well 3 days and you're done.
I'm with you.
Who says you deserve redemption?
I'm with you.
Yeah. Shoot well all 3 days. I don't know where someone thinks, well, if I shoot bad, I really should have the says who? How do you deserve that?
I'm with you.
Yeah, I
you know me.
There could be a lot of arguments in a lot of different directions for why. That's not one that I'm a fan of. To say, well, you can then have why should you get an off day? Why should you get to shoot subpar golf, so to speak? I don't know who thinks you deserve that. That should be built in.
Deserve, but it gave him a chance.
Sure. You know what you could also do? You could shoot really, 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 really amazing the first 2 days, and then just maybe mail it in on the third day and just shoot kind of good. That's an idea. Shoot 1,100 and 1,100, and on the third day, just shoot 1,060. I bet you win. You could do that too. Okay. All right. I know you're just the messenger.
What? Don't shoot the messenger, Miller.
Jim says, celebrate my birthday on show 400. Is that the 26th of April? That specific day? Your birthday? Because that would be amazing if it is. We would love it. Then we will have to have special plans. All right. Ray says, is there a deal? Is there a TV deal for DDO? If there is, again, unfortunately, I hate to sound like a broken record.
We're not privy to it.
We wouldn't be privy to it. Nobody trusts us with that kind of information this far out.
Yeah, because we would spill the beans here.
Yes, we tell you everything. Dan says, T-Dog needs an assistant probably. I'm not sure what that's for, but...
Is that what you're getting on the 400th show? You're getting an assistant?
Tim also says, hole 18 at the new Jones course for the DDO is easy ace, I hear. Yeah, is that what McCabe did?
Yeah, McCabe threw, I believe it was probably an EMAC Truth.
Oh, he would.
Maybe it was an EMAC Judge, but it wasn't. He rung it up, so to speak. I guess I don't really care. I was gonna say, there's a
final holes.
Yeah, there's a push for final holes to be like game changing and whatever, and maybe that is. I mean, based on the green that I saw, it's a tiered green, so it's up.
It's not island though, right?
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if they're going to make it an island. They might.
Oh,
so if island with a drop zone, that could be a game changer there. I don't know.
Anybody know if it's an island? Seems like it's a little too long to be an island, no?
I don't know. It's an island hole, says Tim.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't. I saw EMAC throw the shot, and it was on my phone, and I didn't pay attention. I assumed that it was one of those ace thingies. We'll see.
Razorhausen says, are the Packers going to be able to pay Devonta Adams what he is worth?
Explain to me this, to answer that, as you answer this question.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Explain to me this. I saw something about Devonta Adams, but under the franchise tag.
Yes.
What exactly is that clarification? That's not just like a nifty pat on the head or shoulders and says, oh, hey, you're kind of our franchise.
No. The franchise tag,
what's the stipulation with that?
My understanding is that every year a team can take their franchise tag and put it on a player rather than signing them to a contract. You get one. I think you get one player that you can do that with, but you have to pay them whatever I believe market rate is for that position, or top market rate is or something. So if the Packers say, hey, we're gonna franchise you because we can't work out an agreement, we have to pay you, $18 million this year, as opposed to maybe the $14 million we pay you in a long-term agreement. I think you get top dollar. I'm not 100% sure on what the average is. I think it has to do with like the different positions and whatever. But they can do that every year. There are players that were franchised 2 or 3 years in a row. Well, Davante Adams says, "Yeah, get bent. I won't play with that tag."
What's the disadvantage to playing with that tag? Because he wants a longer, potentially
he
wants a longer
long-term
contract.
agreement. Yeah.
And they're saying
it also makes it so no other team can claim you that year, as opposed to just letting him be a free agent. They get paid.
So obviously
top
he can
5
turn it down
at the position. Well, he can sit out. If they franchise him and he decides he's not going to play, then he has to sit out. It's not like he can just be like, "No thanks, guys. I'm going to go play somewhere else," or you just can't play. You're owned by the team at that point.
And is he in his last year of contract with us? Is that?
I believe
He must be, right?
Yes,
You can't just
correct. You can't franchise
otherwise he would
him while he's still under contract. Correct. So the argument is, and for those of you that don't know, we got Aaron Rodgers back. He's getting paid like $150 million over the next 4 or 5 years. Like the first 3 years, I think, are guaranteed, and it's a little sticky. But Davante Adams is not arguably, he's one of the top 3 receivers in the league, hands down. You can make an argument about Cooper Kupp on the Rams. You could probably make an argument about Jefferson over in Minnesota, who's younger. Davante Adams, I think, is 30 this year, maybe 31.
So
I
then
don't know.
I don't know. What are they paying, like, I don't know, Rice or Moss these days? Are those guys?
I don't remember what Jerry Rice is getting paid these days. I think I saw him on a commercial somewhere. So,
okay, so not as much as Moss. He's doing well.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Moss is probably making quite a bit of money on ESPN right now.
Okay, those are my guys.
I know that's where he's at.
All right. So clearly they would never.
Yeah.
Would you put a franchise? I mean, would you put a franchise tag on somebody you literally just want for the year, and it may or may not even be their final year, like an Aaron Rodgers, and just say,
maybe,
like, "Hey, we just really want you for one more year," and they may say, "Well, I'm probably good with just being here one more year."
Maybe most players want a long-term agreement because, say, you franchise him and he gets hurt this year and he's out. He has now possibly ruined a career, or maybe at least pushed back, tens of millions of dollars. So that's the argument of, why.
Yeah, because he'd rather have the guaranteed contract, so that if he gets hurt, I get it. Okay.
100%.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Do we need franchise tags in disc golf?
I was just trying to think if I could get one.
No, you can't.
I don't know how I would do that.
This podcast wouldn't even franchise you. That's how sad it is.
Oh, okay.
But
maybe over at the Disc Golf Guy channel.
Yeah.
Could I franchise tag myself?
Maybe. I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't see how a franchise tag would work in disc golf. So I'm going to say no.
All right. Well, either way. Well, so that was some of the big news, and I know that we even cut away at one point, or cut to our MPO action this weekend, and they weren't they discussing that the news had just come out about Tom Brady.
Yes.
So it was pretty funny that Paul was
17.
I think Paul specifically was, flipping through headlines, and at one point then discovered the Tom Brady news, and then everyone was kind of huddled around looking at that, which just proves what they're worried about with 2 holes left to play at our tournaments, which I think is awesome. If that's clearly, there's a million ways people can let their mind wander into, things that are either on the course or off the course. And, a lot of players will tell you they're not necessarily looking at scores, or they might be looking at scores of their friends. I think I see that a lot. A lot of especially in the MPO division, they're flipping through UDisc and they're seeing, oh, someone's 9 down, and they might be in 40th place, but oh, someone's 9 down, and then the next thing you know, they're clicking for it to drill down, and they're seeing, the putts that they've made or whatever. That happens more than you'd probably even think out on the course, but clearly some players don't pay any attention to it. Here's something I think I meant to bring up a week or two ago, and it's going to remain prevalent in a lot of ways, and I'm maybe I discussed it, maybe I didn't. The going to tournaments and watching everybody I'm going to use the term refuse to do live scoring is becoming more and more of a problem every single week.
Having groups refuse to do live scoring,
As in, you go to an event, all 4 guys get to the tee. I'm about to film them. The tournament director has said in 9 different places prior to the tournament, at the meeting, and that day after just talking to them, hey guys, just so you know, there's live scoring, blah blah blah. You need to do this, you need to do that, and 4 players all just staring at each other. I'm not doing it. I didn't bring my phone. My phone's dead. I'm not doing it. I don't know if excited is quite the word. I'm interested to see if there's going at some point, and I know it's awkward, if there's going to be some clarification and or some type of structure or rule that gets played out. I don't know what that is, and I don't have a suggestion right now because I know there's a lot of variables to it, but I will tell you it is legitimately a thing, and I see it all the time.
Well, I think and it's funny because there's 2 levels to this. There's the UDisc live scoring, and then there's the PDGA live scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether you know this or not, the UDisc live scoring isn't the official scoring of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It's the official, or it's not the official. It is the public scoring so that everyone can go out and look, but you can also go out to pdgalive.com and see those scores as well. The PDGA live scoring doesn't have the detailed scoring where you need to go, putt, drive, whatever. You put them in the circles and however that works. PDGA Live, you just put in a number. 2, 3, 4. I don't think as a player you should be allowed to not do that. Just like if there's a, like, I guess the question is, if there's a scorecard handed to you, oop, here you go, Terry, there's 4 people's names on it. Can a player just be like, yeah, I'm not scoring this. I refuse to. I don't know if there's anything in the rules about that.
There is, with regard to, if I go to pdga.com/rules, I'm going to type in.
So if a tournament director hands, obviously there's all this stuff like, oh, my phone's dead. If a tournament director hands you a phone that's charged up, has the PDGA scoring on it, and says, here, you get to start keeping score on PDGA Live, where you just have to put numbers in, I think that's one thing. UDisc is an entirely different beast, because especially the fact that the live requires it and relies on it so heavily, it gets really frustrating for us when we saw this past weekend there was 1 or 2 cards that the scoring wasn't being done till the end of the hole. Oh, Uli, what'd you go? Off fairway, off fairway, off fairway, off fairway, circle 2 putt, circle 1 putt, in. All right, cool. Well, that doesn't help the live scorers, because when we cut to a player, we need to know what throw they're on. And if they're not doing it on the spot, that really hurts. Now, I don't know if the players should be obligated to do that.
Well,
because especially like if you're in the middle of a hole, no, I don't think that should be a requirement personally. But the PDGA Live is the official scoring and should be required.
Yeah, and just for clarification, folks, UDisc scoring is almost exclusively done via event volunteers. So just to put that out there, at the biggest events, when UDisc scoring is done, it is almost always done by a volunteer scorekeeper. UDisc has worked really hard on that, and the Pro Tour has worked really hard on that throughout the last 5-6 years now. So when it gets done, that's how it's being done, and I want to make sure that's very clear. And I'm not necessarily referencing Disc Golf Pro Tour events right now when I'm saying that. I've seen this as a problem. It's been at some of the other events that I've been at, and I just put a link in the chat, and I'll just quickly read official rules of disc golf. 808 scoring is the section, and the very first thing, 808A, says the player listed first bears primary responsibility for picking up the group's scorecard. B, players in the group keep score proportionately unless a player or scorekeeper volunteers to keep the score unless they volunteer to keep score more, and that is acceptable to all players in the group. So if somebody says, hey guys, I'll do scoring for the whole round, and everybody else agrees to that, then they can.
Which is usually my move.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's easier to cheat that way.
Yeah, well, yeah. I never.
Pro tip, folks. You want to cheat?
You have
Be in
to have
control of the
scorecard.
scorecard. Yes, it's much more difficult.
That's right. Excuse me, can I just write my score on there?
Can you turn around? I need to write my
close
score
your eyes.
on.
Do you have an eraser?
Yes.
No, that's usually the way I go, and I kind of picked that up from you way back when. It's just easier to keep track of the scores, and I know what's being done, and I trust it. And I'm a trusting guy, trustable, wink. If I have the scorecard, especially if I have the scorecard in the beginning of the round, I just keep it. If I don't, I usually just keep it at some point whenever it gets handed to me, because most players don't like to keep score. So if I'm the last person to get the scorecard or I'm the second, at that point I just usually keep it, unless something crazy is going on and I just absolutely don't want it for some reason. But that was such a rare occurrence.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just telling you, when there's a big rule change or hubbub or fist fight or something or all of the above that break out this year or in the next year or two, I can just see that there's a lot of people, and we know there's plenty of people that are anxious to do it. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do it. I'll gladly put those in, but there's also a lot of people that are like, nope, not doing it. And then there's been some awkward standoffs this year where I'm watching 4 players, I'll say in MPO, I'm watching them just all kind of stare at each other until someone breaks. Like, I'll do it. But there's been some awkward moments. I should start filming those.
Yeah. And just call it awkward moments.
Awkward moments. 4 guys just like. And and again, it hasn't been long. I've already heard I didn't bring my phone. I don't bring my phone. It's not charged. I don't have good service. I've heard them all already. And some of those are probably legit. Most of them are BS probably. But some are legit. So anyway, yeah, look for that to continue to be a thing. What's new in the world of, have you been watching? What have you been watching, Johnny? Everybody needs to know.
What? An Apple TV series called Physical. And I actually complained to Terry about this right as I got down here. So my wife turned it on, and I wasn't watching the first episode. I think halfway through it, I wandered into the living room, sat down on the couch a couple days ago, and it's a story about the early 80s, this woman who eventually creates I assume an empire of VHS jazzercise videos.
I like where this is going.
And so it's kind of a comedy. She has, she clearly has issues with food. You can tell. It's kind of strange, but my wife started watching it, so I got sucked into it. And then tonight, I was a little sleepy. I worked out. I did whatever. I was like, I'm going to lay down on the couch and maybe take like a half-hour nap before the podcast. So I'm nice and chipper up until whenever I'm up. And I lay down, and she turns on the show. And now I'm thinking like, well, I want to watch this show, so now I'm not going to be able to take a nap. And it kind of annoyed me. And then she was watching it after I left. So she gives 0 Fs about whether or not I see this show.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm going to finish watching it. But it was decent. Nothing spectacular, nothing horrible. It was it is what it is. So yeah, Raised by Wolves season 2 is out. I need to get on that. So I watched season 1. That's always good. Crazy and weird, and I don't know. So
would I like it?
No, absolutely not. You would
Okay.
hate it. Like, you might think it's the worst thing you've ever watched.
Wow.
Honestly, like
Fair enough. I won't bother.
No, don't. Do not bother.
I had a chance quickly to, I guess this is over the span of the last few events. I had to look them all up. I caught up with a couple more episodes of Space Force on Netflix. I guess I didn't get all the way to the end of season 1, but I guess I am now, and I enjoyed it. Did you ever watch that?
I did not. It looked okay.
Yeah.
Nothing I wanted to go out of my way to see.
Yeah, it was all right. I don't know if I ever got around to mentioning it, that I also ended up watching a little bit of Murderville.
Yes, we watched the first 4 episodes of that.
Okay, so
That was pretty good.
and one of those was that one of the episodes where they were going on and on about disc golf.
Well, there was
frisbee.
There was a woman who actually talked about disc golf. About how strong the guy's wrists were.
Yeah.
And that was the one with Kumail Nanjiani as the guest host. And for those of you that don't know Murderville, it's based on a British TV show where there's a everybody gets a script except for the guest star. The guest star goes onto the show and just has no idea what's going on and kind of has to try to solve this murder. And I thought I liked the Kumail one. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
The Marshawn Lynch one I thought was very funny too, just because he's such an odd guy. And I think that was the last one I watched was the Kumail one. So
okay, so yeah, I'm about as far as you are. And then I did watch the Doc Antle story. I started watching a little bit of that. I think I'm actually as much as they've released. Maybe you guys know more than I do. The Don't Trust Bhagavan, I think, is the third and final one of those episodes. I don't know if there's any more or not, but I'm caught up through there. So those are all things that I had consumed. I guess I'm a little behind on anything else with a little bit of my travels, but. Okay, yeah, that's all I've seen. I don't see anything else.
I have migrated. This is so minor. I migrated the podcasting app that I use from Overcast back to Pocket Casts.
Oh, I see. I'm still OG Pocket Cast, and I still don't listen to anything.
I know.
Why did you?
So I moved away a couple years ago because Pocket Cast was bought by NPR. And they had
can't support those bastards.
Fuck them. No, they actually they started putting ads into podcasts.
Oh, how dare them!
So I'm not going to listen. Like if a podcast wants to put an ad in, that's one thing. They're getting paid for that.
Okay.
I feel like if your app company is going to put an ad into it, and the podcast doesn't see anything, I didn't like that. So I was like, I'm going to go to Overcast, which is a small company made podcasting app by I believe Marco Arment, who's made a couple other apps, very, very big in the Apple community, whatever. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I always liked Pocket Cast a little bit better, so I was whatever. I didn't realize that Pocket Cast was bought like 2 years ago now by a company called Automatic. Now Automatic is owned and run by a guy by the name of Matt Mullenweg, who created WordPress and is one of they also bought Tumblr, the blogging app, so to speak. And it's one of I used to follow his name was Photomat way back, like right after he created WordPress. I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. He created this thing. Well, clearly WordPress now runs, I think I last heard, 42% of the websites on the internet. And just a phenomenal company, very good for open internet type standards, all that open source stuff, whatever. And so I found out that they bought Pocket Casts. So I was like, well, I'm going to support them. So I went back to Pocket Casts because it's a company behind the scenes that I trust that isn't going to screw with people or throw in extra ads or whatever, which is funny because I heard NPR bought Pocket Casts and they ended up like the first year they ended up losing like $800,000 based on all this other stuff. So I don't know how Automatic has been paying for it for the last 2 years, but anyway, Pocket Casts, I'm back on it. I like it.
I'm glad I never left now.
I know. I'm glad. Yeah, well, But again, you probably haven't listened to a podcast on Pocket Casts in 2 years.
That's probably about accurate. Yeah, very much so.
Yep. And I did have the paid version of Pocket Casts a few years ago, and I went away from it. So, and I did pay for the Overcast. I think it's like $4 a month or $4 a year or something.
Okay, let's scroll down. Did you guys discuss Barsby yet? Turned ankle. Honestly, I don't know of any of the details. Again, I was in Bend for the weekend. I had the pleasure of being with Nate, and then along with Val. And so anything that was related to Greg Barsby, I did not see, other than the fact I think there was a DNF.
Correct. I had heard he
at some point
taken a fall and hurt himself. Like, I don't know if it was an ankle or what.
Okay.
That was what I had heard. I don't know how accurate that is. But why be accurate now? Honestly, we're almost 400 episodes in, and it hasn't helped us
make
yet.
Stuff up.
So Correct. So that is what I had heard. So hopefully he's fine. Oh,
I heard a cobra bit
Ooh.
in the calf.
Hmm.
So if he was limping, it was a lot like a turned ankle, but it was a cobra bite to the calf.
Cobra bite, really?
Yes. Something like that. He's okay, though. Okay, Ryan says, Ray, when Conan forced to eat the food sauce, cracking up. Okay, first 3 seasons of Arrested Development are going off Netflix. Somewhere, that's okay. Because somewhere I have the DVD of the first 3 seasons, first couple of seasons. So I'll just plug in, those DVDs.
That's funny that it's going off of Netflix, considering I think Netflix paid for the 4th season. So I wonder where the other they're going to show up somewhere. They're going to pop up on some streaming app. I just don't know what it is. So
okay, maybe paid version. Yes, Linux since 1998. Like it, Carney. Ray
Carney says, I've been using Linux since 1998. Ray comes back and says, geez, Carney, save some of the ladies for the rest of us.
We're talking operating systems here.
We're talking OSs. My first exposure to the Unix operating system was when I was in high school back in like '94 when my cousin had it and I didn't understand it because I was a Windows guy and so I never really got into it. But that was my first exposure to the Unix operating system.
That's where all the best emails were. Okay.
No, that was Pine.
Oh.
We had Pine email system back in the day. So
either way. Is there anything else going on outside of the disc golf community that we should be concerned with?
Outside of the disc golf community?
Inside or outside of the disc golf community.
So and obviously this would not have been appropriate to talk with our guest tonight, with Valerie, but is there any sort of worry that should be happening about Kona's performances yet? Or are we just kind of should everyone be fine? Because Kona was the quote unquote the big signing in the off season, and she struggled the first 2 events.
Mm-hmm.
And just like we've seen kind of Evelina struggle as well with her putting. I think I went back and looked at the stats. Even if Kona had hit every circle 1 putt,
okay,
I don't think she still would have cashed. So I kind of feel like, as much as people like to kind of harp on her putting issues, I don't necessarily know if
that was the problem.
If that was the problem this weekend, or if it was more of a cascade. I don't know if she hit any circle 2 putts. I didn't dig that much into it, but I saw 50% for 1 round. I could probably dig up the stats, but I'm too lazy.
Sure.
But anyway, we saw her have a struggle, and I know my answer right now, but do you see there being any sort of worry at all?
No, I mean, first of all, we all know that's an incredibly tough course. I mean, are you going to say the same of Paul Ulibarri? You can have an off weekend. I mean, it's obvious she's got the skills. I mean, you don't win at that course by 12 strokes last year if you're not skilled. It's just not possible. And so this year was seeing her not quite dialed in. To me, it's time. It's a matter of time. How long before she gets dialed in, I think, is the question that needs to get answered. But right now, I'm good with allotting the time. We know some people can pick up some discs and they're ready to go, and you might as well wipe the stamp. You have no idea what the disc is, but you're just throwing it, and it's all second nature to you, and it's really no big deal switching molds or manufacturers or whatever. Kona may not have that luxury, so to speak, and therefore she's still working on getting herself dialed in. Now, can we have this conversation? If she feels like she gives it 110% for the whole year, and then it's October and she hasn't cashed, well, then, yeah, I think, then there's some legitimate harping and reassessment that needs to happen. But right now, 2 events in, I don't know that I'm not concerned at all. And
I'm with you. I'm not concerned either. I don't know what's in Kona's head right now as far as whether she's concerned or not. But I don't feel like if I'm DD, I don't feel like there's cause for concern
No,
yet.
I mean, and the worst thing they could do is call her up. And I mean, they could call her up and say, "Hey, is there anything we can help you with? How are you
course.
doing?" That I think feels very appropriate. But to call her up and give her any kind of criticism or heat or pressure is just clearly not what they're going to do, nor should they, and they wouldn't.
EMAC knows better than that.
I mean, and I don't think any sponsor would do that right now. If they are, they're not a super duper sponsor, that's for sure. So yeah, just give her some time to breathe. Maybe, and I don't think you have to truly wait till the end of the year, but 60 more days. I feel like, these are kind of arbitrary numbers on my end, but yeah, give her another 60 days, another 2 months of golf, and then take a maybe a steadfast look at what's going on, and if there seems to be some major struggle still, then she's probably going to be questioning what's happening and what she needs to be doing. But she's skilled, just like all of our professionals are. I think things will get themselves worked out. And I know there's a lot of criticism and challenge around some of the putting woes that we've seen by Evelina. And that's not to be mean-spirited, of course, at all, but we saw some of that at the Memorials on some of my coverage, and then we also saw some of that unfold primarily during round 2 at Waco this weekend. And that's obviously just some form of mental disconnect. I don't know how it gets remedied. I don't know if she feels like, you think back to Tin Cup, and he, tells you, he tells you to take all your change out and do all this other stuff just to change it up. Is it have something to do with her release, her hyzer putt, the overall way that it comes out? I can't answer any of those questions, and how anyone gets over that lack of confidence that now has probably been instilled in her. I mean, I certainly feel bad for her. I feel bad for anyone that falls upon some of those putting woes or yips or lack of confidence. I don't know what the answer is. Kristen Tatar told me, though, she said she doesn't think the internet is going to help. She said,
no. She
said at the Memorial, she said, thank you for everyone pointing it out, and that, everyone has all these, brilliant ideas. And she said, oh, that's so good. I could go out to the internet and they'll tell us. Again, that's part of the reason why I don't have the answer. I don't know what it is. Clearly, she knows.
Of course, you could see how frustrated she was getting and how disappointed she was in some of her putts. As far as Evelina, I'm talking. We didn't really see Kona this weekend, so I can't say anything about Kona. Evelina, you saw her disappointment. You saw the frustration that she had. From strictly a sports perspective, I think maybe you strip down everything and go to like some real basic form. I think maybe just give that a shot. That would be my idea. Just try, just go out there and just drain 15 footers and find whatever different way than you're doing it now. So if she's putting with a hyzer putt, try spin putt. Just mix it up for one tournament and try to get whatever it is that's in your head out of your head and move on from there. But I'm not a sports psychologist.
I was just going to repeat that. Nor am I. So I have,
because if she's airballing those, then I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I think
have
she'll
not
get it
coached
together.
anyone to a world title, so I'm not about to give any.
But you haven't tried either.
I haven't tried, but I'm not about to try and give anyone advice as to that. I whatever it is, I just hope for her sake and for the sport's sake, she gets it figured out.
Because if she can get her putting on,
clearly,
her tee to green is phenomenal. So, we'll see.
So, somebody asked earlier with regard to, and I've seen this question a couple times, with regard to Ukraine and Russia and traveling plans, and I'm going to just speak for what I know, which is that I haven't been informed or heard anything, whether that was at the Memorial and then I was not on site at Waco, but I haven't seen or heard of anything of the players discussing. Now, that's not to say the conversations aren't happening, but there's nothing that's been, I'll say, loud enough that it's been within my purview or understanding or hearing of any change of plans with regard to our players obviously things can get changed up and some of that could get altered, but I haven't heard anything of that nature, and I'm sure people will just continue to watch and do what they feel is safest or best for them. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen over in Western Europe with Ukraine and Russia. I have a slight worry about the European Open in that if things get much worse, that maybe a bunch of our pros kind of just take a step back and say, I don't think I need to be that close. I don't think I need to be in Europe during what appears to be some sort of possible war. And whether the European Open would happen or not. But that's months away, and I don't necessarily, at this point right now, I don't see that happening. I think I give it like a 10% chance. But I think even that might be, because it's in what, mid-June, late June?
yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
European Open? Oh, it's in July 21st there.
Yeah, July 21st through the 24th.
So, I mean, things could be all hunky-dory by then. We could be, best buddies with Russia. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen or what's going on. So I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, for world relationships.
What good are you?
I'm much more comfortable speculating on disc golf futures than I am, Western European politics.
Yeah, well, you're not worth anything then.
So Carney Shill says, I'm boycotting Tetris right now. Well, that's just silly. Why would you do that? That's like one of the best games of all time. And the guy who invented that, just because he was Russian, I think Russia, there's a whole story behind that. There might even be a whole documentary about the history of Tetris. I thought I heard something how, like, basically Russia more or less took that from him or something. So, I don't know. That could be an old wives' tale.
All right, Johnny, let's give something away. Why don't we start there?
Give it away. Give it away now.
Okay.
182 people eligible for this week's Patreon giveaway. And like we had said earlier, if you want to be eligible, you can go to patreon.com/smashboxtv. And for any amount that you donate, you'll be entered into our weekly giveaway. This week, we're going to be giving away a disc member box, which is not over here. It's actually upstairs. It's sitting on my dryer right now.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a little bit slightly thicker box than normal, so I don't know what's
I like
in
them
there.
thick.
If you're a thick box.
You know that it's on. It's on.
I thought what was a really good iced tea hustler joke in the control room this weekend.
Oh, and I'm sure that went over like a lead balloon.
Oh, like a lead balloon. Not one person, because somebody had said how someone was hustling, and I was like iced tea hustler, and nobody said anything, and I even said out loud, I'm like, you know what, guys, Terry would have laughed at that.
Yeah, I would have.
And
HUSTL, yeah, hustler.
And I really felt my age.
I was just gonna say you were.
I'm 10 years older than probably everybody in that control room. I don't know how old is Gary? 33, 34.
Something like that.
So like that. Yeah, I'm 10 years older than everybody in that damn control room. Ugh, gosh, I'm old. So anyway, 182 people eligible for this week's Patreon giveaway, and we are going to give something away. I have sorted these by email address, reverse order.
Dang. So
starting with the Z's.
Number 1 is going to be Zookeeper. Zoom.
Nope. It's Zach Pajic.
Oh, Zach, longtime supporter. So I'm going to just give a big old shout out regardless.
Yes,
Thank you, Zach. We appreciate that.
Most certainly. So Terry, what in the world?
I mean, this was the first win by Valerie on the Elite Series Disc Golf Pro Tour, whatever, in that category. So we're going to go ahead and say the very first number generated.
The first number generated is
Holy
16.
Wow, this is going to be
It's going to be a
www.gmail.com.
Number 16. I feel like she just won. Juliana Schick.
Yeah, she just won like 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
so.
We're not going to give. Sorry, Juliana.
Sorry, Juliana.
You literally just won.
I don't
2
even think
weeks
she
ago.
got her box from last
She
time.
hasn't gotten it yet. So you know what we're going to do? We're gonna
Ouch.
We're gonna draw another number. I'm sorry.
That's just too soon. Too soon, bro.
Too soon. We're gonna do another one. So the next number is.
And I know her
134.
personally, and she would say, "Let's spread the love around." So
134.
thanks, Juliana.
Thanks, Juliana. Yeah, I knew we just get. So this one is Christian Bengston. So congratulations, Kristen Bengston.
Love it.
Whose email address starts with disc golf.
Clever.
I know. So that we're into the D's. All right. So congratulations, Christian. We will reach out to you, and we'll figure out how we can get this Discmember box to you.
Yes.
Because we don't have your address. So.
Yes, we'll do that. And again, we appreciate it. And I'm going to send another shout out. Thank you very much, Juliana, for being so kind and
I'm
understanding.
sorry I made the call, but you just won.
I think literally 2 weeks ago.
I think it was. That's what made me like. I was like, I was looking at you and I was thinking, or not looking, but I kind of know you were looking at it, and I'm like, I think she just won.
Yeah,
that sounds very familiar. So, anyway. Someone says, just send her a smashed box with nothing in it. Congratulations.
No, she's an active listener. Now you just outed us. We know. She knows.
No, she knows. She knows.
So we appreciate it, and thank you to both of you. And I think I'm in a good position to get a little bit caught up. I know that I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so now is a good time for me to get caught up before I hit the road yet again.
I know, and I've got something for you to send out. So that's great.
Wow, I can't wait.
One of the Chris Dickerson original buzzes, the ESP Super Swirly Buzz with the Robot Chicken stamp that somebody won on Skip Ace.
Dang.
So I need you to send that out to a viewer once I get his information. He sent it to me, and I just been sitting on it because you've been kind of gone for
a
little while. And you're my shipper.
I was just gonna say, I'm your only access to the post office.
Well,
I understand.
You're my only access to disc in a box.
That's
so
true.
I need to make sure.
We could set you up with a 100-pack. I could get you into a sweet set of those today.
Could you?
I could. All right. If we don't have anything else from the group, we can go ahead and call it. We'll give it a few more minutes here. If you don't have, if you got a question or insight or something you need for us to discuss, if not, we can wrap things up, as we appreciate you guys for joining us here tonight.
Next week I'll be a year older. So.
Oh, geez. What is it? The 16th? So yeah, a couple days.
Sunday.
Jeez.
I know. I get to do a broadcast the entire day on my birthday.
Just think about it. You're going to be 44.
I know. Doesn't that feel so old? Does it seem to sound so old?
It kind of does.
But it's not. I don't feel old yet.
That's all that matters.
No, it's not.
That's what they say.
Well, they're wrong.
All right, guys. Well, it doesn't look like anyone else has stuff to chime in with. So, Tim, we appreciate it. Carney, yes, born in the same hole as the pole hole. What, is that technically 76? Or was that the first year of the PDGA? If Terry sold his disc stash, he'd probably be retired. I'd have to sell them, and that I don't like any of that idea.
First of all, that's true, and no, I don't think you could retire on that. Well, you could, but not.
And plus, can I ever retire?
No.
What would retirement look like for me?
I don't know.
Exactly, me either. So don't count on it anytime soon. You guys are stuck with me. Okay. All right, we're going to close it out.
I can cut that last part out.
Please do. We're going to close it out. We want to thank you guys for joining us in the after show. Thank you so much for all of our passionate smashies that tune in, or you really don't care for it and you just want to see if your name's called and then skip so we can go to the next name. That works as well. So thank you, Christian, for your support here tonight. We're going to get some stuff to you. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, bless you. We will see you next week for Smashbox Podcast 395. Yet another step closer to that very sensible 400. Okay. We're sneezing away here. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox. The sneeze box.